welcome to the regular meeting of the Yuma County Board of Supervisors. We'll be sitting as all special taxing districts, and this is the August 15th, 9 a.m. meeting. Board members will attend either in person, by telephone, or remotely via electronic conferencing. We do have a supervisor missing. He has given us indications that if we need him, we can get in touch with him. He will be on the phone. He's out of town, but unless we need him, we'll call him. This is the call to order. First item in the agenda is Pledge of Allegiance. I'll ask Supervisor Lyons to lead us on the Pledge of Allegiance.
Please join me in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Punishment. He missed 2 fights last night. All right. The first item in the agenda is call to the public, and call to the public is held for the public benefit to allow individuals to address issues within the board's jurisdiction. Board members may not discuss items that are not specifically identified on the agenda. Therefore, pursuant to Arizona Revised Statutes, action taken as a result of public comment will be limited to directing staff to study the matter, responding to criticism, or scheduling the matter for further discussion and a decision at a future date. Public comments may be made in person or submitted by email at publiccomment@yumacountyaz.gov. The email forms of public comment will be accepted until 8 a.m. in the morning of the meeting. All public comments will be read out loud during the Yuma County Board of Supervisors meeting that starts at 9 a.m. I do have some items here that I think may be actually considered call to the public. If you have a speaker form and you have an item you want to talk about, I'll take it up during that item. Do we have any email communications? Right, we're gonna take then Gene Dalby, Mr. Bicycle. Oh, there he is. Gene, the floor is yours. Morning.
Gene Dalby, 1183 West 37th Street, Yuma Region Bicycle Coalition. I just want to thank you guys. I've been out of town for a couple of months and come back, and oh, it's so good to be home. I'm glad that I caught the tail end of the hot weather, but it looks like we're getting some nice storms and what have you. I hope everybody appreciates the water we're getting. And I wanted to mention that we're in the beginning stages now of our serious planning of our bike ride in November. It's the Tour de Fields, and it's going to be held in San Luis this year. I think it's going to be a wonderful venue for everybody to have a great ride and an experience that close proximity to the border. And we hope that we get a lot of participation from our San Luis, Rio Colorado members of the city over there. So, and thank you guys for what you're doing, looking out for the safety and welfare of our community. And believe me, I'm glad I'm in Yuma, Arizona. God bless you guys. Thank you.
Thank you, Gene. And I'm gonna take the opportunity to also thank APS. I mean, we certainly complain about the tax rates, tax bills and stuff, but when you lose 140, 150 poles and they're back there putting the power back on, I think that they deserve to be acknowledged. They're doing a great job trying to keep everybody lit up. I mean, it's something that I think we all need to start getting used to. This is the kind of weather that we normally don't get here in Yuma County, but when we get it, it's certainly nice to see that the agencies in charge of repairing it are up there doing the job. So thank you, people from APS, and thank everybody, every emergency response team that is out there trying to help in a situation like this should be thanked. They're doing the best they can under the very awful circumstances. So thank you all. Okay, Gene, thank you for giving me the opportunity. Alejandro Jimenez, Water Drive benefits, yeah. She's from benefits.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. My name is Alejandra Jimenez. I'm the Benefits Specialist for Human Resources Department. On behalf of the Human Resources Benefits Division, we wanted to challenge all the permanent offices for the water bottle drive starting today, August 15th through September 15th, to help our Crossroads Mission residents right now to the hot weather we have. The copy that you currently have in front of you, it's the copy we have provided to all the Employee Health Committee members to help us with communicating this information with our offices and departments so we can get more participation on the water bottle drive. have the results finalized. We will bring the results back in our first meeting in October so we can award those individuals by teams and also those who are participating individually as well. We'll be providing wellness incentives for teams and individuals participating on the water bottle drive. Thank you.
All right, any questions?
Who was the previous winner?
What was the previous winner?
For the water bottle drive? I'm not sure because last year we didn't provide a water bottle drive. It was a different one. It was
Because of water board.
COVID,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, you gotta give us kind of a metric so we know,
What to shoot for.
what to shoot for.
Otherwise, we're gonna
I
water
wanna
border
say
out of you.
Administration
Did administration win?
win or human resources, one of those two.
Oh, we can claim that we won.
Wait,
you know,
administration wins
Nobody
again.
knows we did, we
Yeah.
won. Thank you, Alejandra, and thank you all of you for just taking the time out to do all these projects. I
Thank you.
know that United Way, I know that, all these organizations you guys support, always end up with something positive to say about it. All right, that takes care of the open to the public. I am going to leave open to the public open throughout the meeting, so in case somebody shows up a little later, we can open it up again and take care of their petitions or presentations. And we're moving on to presentation, proclamations, and appointments. And during this segment of the agenda, board members may discuss the presentations and proclamations and may announce appointments to the Yuma County Planning and Zoning Commission and the Yuma County Board of Adjustments. No legal action will be taken. I am going to move some of these items to get some people out that may need to get back to offices where they're going to do that. And the first items that I'm going to move is item 4 and 5. This is where the chairman proclaims September 15 to October 15 as Hispanic Heritage Month in Yuma County, and where the chairman proclaims September 16, 2022 as Mexican Independence Day in Yuma County. And I think we have the Mexican Consul Jose Larios Ponce, Edith Garcia Estrella, which I think she's somewhere here, and Alexa de Santiago, who are joining us today. We're going to have Supervisor Porchas read the proclamation proclaiming September 15 through October 15 Hispanic Heritage Month. I'll read the one that proclaims September 16 as Mexican Independence Day. So we'll read them first, and then we'll turn them over to you. So, Supervisor Porchas.
Proclamation proclaiming September 15th through October 15th, 2022 as Hispanic Heritage Month in Yuma County. Whereas on August 17, 1988, Public Law 100-402 authorized President Reagan to establish September 15th through October 15 as National Hispanic Heritage Month. And whereas National Hispanic Heritage Month is an opportunity to celebrate legacy of traditions, rich culture, and honor the significant achievements of our Hispanic and Latino American communities. And whereas Hispanics are the largest ethnic minority group in the country and make valuable contributions to the community in business, industry, government, education, the sciences, arts, and faith. And whereas Hispanics have served with this distinction in military conflicts since the Revolutionary War and continue to defend our country today as members of the armed forces. These brave men and women bring us honor, and we are grateful for their service and sacrifice. And whereas their respective backgrounds of Hispanic and Latino Americans are an integral part of Yuma County and have made enormous contributions to our diverse society by sharing their talents, culture, traditions, and their deep connection with the family values. Now, therefore, Marco A. Tony Reyes, Chairman of the Yuma County Board of Supervisors, proclaim the month of September 15 through October 15, 2022 to be Hispanic Heritage Month in Yuma County.
Thank you, Supervisor Porchas. And I guess in a county that is about 60 to 65, maybe even 70% Hispanic, this is kind of a little bit sort of like appropriate to celebrate those roots and that heritage. So I'm going to read another proclamation, and this is a little more specific. This is a proclamation proclaiming the day of September 16, 2022 as Mexican Independence Day in Yuma County. Whereas on September 16, 1810, Father Miguel Hidalgo gave the memorable Grito de Dolores speech in Dolores, Mexico, which marked the beginning of a long journey towards independence. This day is celebrated as Mexican Independence Day. And whereas on August 24, 1821, the Treaty of Córdoba was signed, giving birth to a new and independent nation led by Agustín de Iturbide, who was appointed after leading the victorious Trigarante army into Mexico City. And whereas Yuma County has a historic relationship with Mexico based in strong cultural and economic ties, and whereas this family-friendly and civic celebration is designed to educate the border community about Mexican history, empower and serve as a link between the Mexican community and local nonprofit organizations and services. And whereas the Mexican community, as part of the growing Hispanic population of the county, is an important and active participant in Yuma society, culture, and economy. And whereas Mexican Independence Day is a day for Yuma citizens of Mexican heritage to celebrate their culture by honoring the rich history, industriousness, and the spirit of Mexicans. Now, therefore, I, Marco A. Tony Reyes, Chairman of the Yuma County Board of Supervisors, proclaim this day of September 16, the day of September 16, 2022, to be Mexican Independence Day in Yuma County. In witness whereof I have hereunto set my hand and fixed the official seal of the Board of Supervisors down at Yuma County seat this 15th day of August 2022. And just so that we further explain this a little bit, Hispanic is anyone of Hispanic descent. And that is what we celebrate in the month. Anybody of Hispanic descent. This is more specific to the Mexican culture. It is more specific to what we consider to be Independence Day in Mexico. So, Council, if you could come forward and the invited guests with you, we'll give this over to you and hope to be present during the celebration. Should we wait for him to say a few words or we just?
Yeah.
No, vamos a esperar a que diga unas cuantas palabras porque usted sí tiene unas palabras que decir. Y luego nos bajamos.
Yeah.
Solamente agradecer, de verdad, muchísimas gracias por esta deferencia, declarando estos días, tanto el 15 de septiembre, Día de la Herencia Hispana, como el 16, el Día de la Independencia Nacional. Y yo, pues, a nombre del Consulado de México aquí en Yuma, agradecerles, y es un reconocimiento a la presencia de los hispanos y desde luego los mexicanos, estando tan cerca de la frontera, se vuelve esto realmente algo muy importante para todos nosotros. Así que, pues, muchísimas gracias. Muchísimas
¿Y ahora el grito?
El grito, no vayas a pisar. Don't step on it. A mí no me gusta estar enseguida de deportes aquí. No sé por qué, pero siempre es algo muy bien. Listo, listo. Muchas gracias.
Muchas gracias.
Ahorita que nos iba a invitar, pero bueno.
Claro, están invitados. 15 de septiembre.
Okay, ahora sí, having taken care of those two items, muchas gracias, Consul. Muchas gracias por su gente que nos visita. We're going to move on to the rest of the agenda, and we'll start with number one, an update by Ross Poppenberger, Vice President for Finance and Administrative Services at Arizona Western College, regarding the AWC Law Enforcement Academy. We will have a PowerPoint presentation from where it looks.
Chairman Reyes, members of the board, thanks for having us here today. I'm going to start off with a 5-minute presentation from Dr. Kaur. He regrets not being able to be here today himself.
Do you have anyone with you?
I have Ratika Dewan and also Alfonso Zavala. They're here with me and stuff. I'll provide the presentation, but if there's any questions on the direction we're going, here with me to support. So I'll sit back down for just a minute. We'll roll the video, and then I'll get into my presentation.
Chairman Reyes and members of the Yuma County Board of Supervisors, my name is Daniel Kaur, the proud president of Arizona Western College, and I wish I could be with you today, but wanted to express my appreciation for our partnership with the Board of Supervisors and my excitement as we begin the construction of the Law Enforcement Training Academy. We are just so thrilled to partner with you, and it's going to be an amazing facility that will serve this region really for generations to come. And a special thank you to Jonathan Lyons, who is really the force behind us acquiring these dollars. Wish I could be with you today. Look forward to being with you again as we report quarterly progress towards the construction of this amazing facility. Thank you.
That's it.
Thank you, Dr. Core. It's a great day to be a Matador.
A great day to be a Matador.
I can't believe you didn't say that.
That's the first time I haven't heard him not say it.
I know. Well,
Gotta figure out what's up there. Push it down in you.
there's one that goes backwards and all the rest go up.
Son, no, allá they're gonna get it all.
Do it? Right, well, stop messing with it.
Okay.
I know you're doing it on purpose. I was turning it on, she was turning it off. Yeah, she's doing it on purpose. Throw me off. Barbara,
You're
you,
trying to keep him in the dark.
Oh.
All right, we got that nailed down. So good stuff. So to echo Dr. Core's remarks, it's just an exciting time to be here today talking about an awesome partnership. So, to the Board of Supervisors, Supervisor Lyons, thanks for your works on this. Definitely filling a gap for Yuma County and the state, frankly, for that. As in our current law enforcement training academy, we have members from all over the state come here to Yuma to participate. And so this is just going to be, one step closer to just, goodness across the board for the county and the state. I'll start off giving a little bit of background on what brought us here and where we are today, and then talk through our current progress, and then talk through our path going forward here. So a little bit of background on this is that tremendous amount of work done up front to identify some dollars in the state budget and bring them here to the county. So that was fantastic. Then in January of 22, we signed an intergovernment agency agreement between Arizona Western and the college for the construction of a $7.5 million law enforcement training academy. Each of the entities, AWC and Yuma, had a couple of things specifically spelled out. I won't go into all of them, but essentially for AWC is to construct the law enforcement training academy on our campus, and then going forward to provide to own and maintain the facility as part of our training program, and then to provide a quarterly report on where we are, what the status of construction is, and where we stand. Yuma's responsibility was to provide $7.5 million, and did that in February of 22. So just again a great partnership. Dollars came over, and almost instantly in February we put architect on contract. The architect firm was Marlene Immersion and Associates, a Phoenix-based company, and the contracted amount for architect services is approximately $560,000 for the base building. So going forward from February to now, the status on what we're doing is we have bi-weekly meetings with the architect and then all interested stakeholders in the development to make sure we're getting the building right and to make sure the building has the items in it that need to be a world-class law enforcement training academy. Some members that attend, mostly AWC side and the architect side is myself, my facilities chief, Ms. Ratika Dewan, Alfonso Zavala, Nate Dusick, Adam Friedman, and then Marlene Immersion and her team is on board. So I think we have the right cast of characters to make sure that we get all the needs of the building incorporated in terms of a defensive training room, specific classrooms, showers, and whatnot. And here in a little bit, I'll have a handout to kind of look at, initial snapshot of where we are with the building. So very fruitful meetings, good discussion. Everything's just moving along on a good progress. To date, right now, as we speak, the design is about 30% complete. And one of the things that we did is we looked at other features to include the building itself, but then we looked at building a driving track there to provide on-site driving track and on-site shooting range. So when we work the pricing overall on the building, we're going to look at compartmentalized sections. The 7.5 is awesome, helpful, goes a long way, but it doesn't go all the way. And I want to highlight that point. Currently, in the FY23 budget, I've identified $2.5 million that we can look at towards contingency. Now, we haven't sought board approval on this yet, but we've just identified where we could find some additional funds to get some more needed capability into the building. So I want to again highlight the strong partnership, that it's not just AWC with their hand out looking for dollars. It's a true partnership to make good capability for our county, our city, our state, and everything along the lines here. A little bit more. So bi-weekly meetings have been very effective. This afternoon, I'm going to have an initial meeting with the architect to talk estimate prices on it. And I just want to put it on the radar screen of the board and folks out there is as we all know, we're in crazy times in the construction industry, and things are just going up rapidly. So what I did is just to kind of give an estimate on the building. Right now, the main building itself is 19,230 square feet. And in just a minute, I'll hand out some paperwork and you can see kind of what that looks like. But at kind of a center range on what construction costs are, I took $390 per square foot, which, as some of your jaws drop to the floor, it's what's going on. We've got a good calculator that takes a look at construction costs across the industry, and they range anywhere for these types of buildings from $350 a square foot up to $450 a square foot. And that's not including some specialty items like the shooting range with the air pumps and things that need to go into that. So the building itself get pretty costly. Why I chose that 390 is I think it's a good negotiating point to start and work with our contractors when we get there with them. And oh, by the way, that equals the $7.5 million. So that's our target price, 390 or below, to come in with that. The shooting range itself is 7,500 square feet, and again, applying that same math comes to about $2.9 million. So that puts us a little bit over the $10 million mark. About $10,500,000 is kind of if we do the shooting range and we do the building as it is. And just to say that at this point, the college has earmarked about $2.5 million to add to the project. As we've looked at this and as the design is getting closer, our initial plan was to go with a design bid build construct, but in recent meetings that we've had with the architect, there's some long lead items, mostly in the electrical lane, that are literally almost a year lead time on some of these items. And so we thought that if we waited to get all the way across the finish line on the design and then put it out and the 30, 60, 90 days for the bids to come in and then the contractor to get started, and then wait the long period of time to have that winning contractor get some of these long lead items on order, we feel that it would just extend the project for further down the road. So last week we made the decision to change the construct on how we're going to bid this, and we're going to go with a construction manager at risk construct, which is the same method that we're building the two current buildings on AWC campus. And what I'll say is the manager of those two programs, it's working out really well for us. Good upfront communication with the guy that's going to build the building and the architect that's designing it and the customer. So it's really proving to be a good construct for us. And one of the things that we will do as we go forward, just like on the buildings that we're building right now currently, we'll have local sub, matchmaking, so to speak, or opportunities for local subcontractors to come in and bid that work under the CMARC construct. So that's the direction we're going. I'm looking forward to this afternoon to get those initial estimate prices, and things are moving all in the right direction. A lot of learning, a lot of good stuff that we're doing. And at this point, I'm going to come up, approach here, and hand out some schematics. I apologize to the audience. I don't have it up on the screen here. But the first one here is kind of showing, roughly, on the Arizona Western campus, the size of the building and where it's going to lay out. So it's going to be on the west side of the campus complex, the main parking lot next to the Shoning Conference Center, kind of back behind there. You'll see that's where our current Public Safety Institute building is. We'll have a parade deck in between the two buildings, and then the LEDA building will be a little bit there just to the south. And you can see where, we've got the shooting range identified on this, and we've also got the physical aptitude asphalt track where they'll do their physical training and whatnot. If you flip to the second page in your packet here, this is a layout of the building and kind of shows where we are, with classrooms and what we're doing as it relates. So down on the bottom, this says number 8, and the light blue is going to all be classrooms that they'll use for their different training. In the middle of the facility, and where it's highlighted as number 6, that's the defensive tactics open mat room for hand-to-hand type training. Up on number 9 is a practical application room where they can do the different drills and whatnot. This facility is going to be just a nice facility. So obviously they're getting dirty and stuff. It's going to have nice showers in there and lockers for the cadets to train and whatnot. We've got some break rooms, and then over on the east, the north side of the building, the stuff that's highlighted in yellow, that'll be our administrative spaces and instructor locker rooms and instructor training areas, as well as break areas. So that kind of highlights where we are on the specific facility. The section to the left there on your page is our 10-lane shooting range. Kind of gives you a depiction of where it is. And the beautiful part of this is it's all co-located together. So it just saves training time for Alfonso and his team, as they're going through their process and stuff. And so we're really hoping to be able to get that shooting range, in there, and also ease resources across the county and city. The next page here is just kind of an overhead blow up to kind of show where it all lays out in terms of, our parking lot is there on the right. You see that the Public Safety Institute is building number 4 on this. The new LEDA is number 1. And I put this to show kind of the footprint of what that driving track would look like. So it's a significant landmark. At this point, we're not comfortable that's going to be the right place, but it's an area that we've identified as a possibility. And just kind of give you a perspective on what size of the area that those driving tracks take up. So, Chairman Reyes, members of the board, at this point, this kind of provides an overview of where we are, where we're going, and what the building's looking like. At this point, are there any questions I can answer?
Are there any questions?
Looks good.
No. Looks good.
Okay. Well, thanks for your time here today. Glad to be up here talking about this great project, and I look forward to continued updates and keep you posted on where we're going.
The update.
Mhm,
right.
Thank you.
All right. Anybody else here? Okay, well, moving on.
We
We're
think you
moving-
Mr.
Oh, yeah,
Chairman?
Ricardo,
say
somebody would,
anything?
you want to say something?
Do you have anything to add?
Just I want to thank Jonathan. If you all doesn't know, he drove so many times to get this 7.5 million. I easily 7,000 miles he drove back and forth to get 7.5 million. So really, Jonathan, thank you so much for getting
You're
everything
welcome.
done. No, it's true story though. So we all get together with Wilmart, Alfonso. We all were in the office together, so we really appreciate it. Thank you so much. Thank you.
I haven't seen the mileage report, but
Nobody got charged. Well, wait, maybe 2.
Yeah.
all right.
Sarah, I have one thing.
Yeah.
This will be a state-of-the-art that everybody in the state will be utilizing, correct?
That's right. As it stands right now, we just last week had a LEDA graduation.
Get a little bit in
Need to
front
get
of
to the
Mike, because
podium,
the way
thanks.
the cameras work, you're
Yeah, we
like
don't have
behind.
state-of-the-art cameras, no. Go ahead.
State-of-the-art campus. Just last week, we had a LEDA graduation, and we had members from all over the state here. Several from both Flagstaff and Coconino County Sheriff's Office. We had La Paz. We had the Colorado River Tribes Police Force that graduated with us. So I mean, it's a true partnering, opportunity, and it's bringing some additional dollars into Yuma County as it relates as they send their students here. And it's a much more affordable law enforcement training academy, certainly for Yuma PD, Yuma Sheriff's Office, and the other facilities, here in Yuma. Now we're not having to send folks all the way and pay hotel costs and whatnot.
I mean, in Maricopa County, yeah.
That's right, stay up there. And then when they come here, we've got some housing availability for folks coming in here as
Good.
well, so.
Oh, that helps their bottom.
I
line.
didn't want to start this conversation by telling you all that I'm a graduate of the Alita Academy. It was a long time ago, way, way too long. I think most of the people that graduated with me are fully retired, including the chief of police of Somerton, Terry. Well, we graduated at the same time. I was a reserve police officer for the city of San Luis, and I went through the academy, and it was a lot more complicated than now. I hope this makes it easier and simpler.
Mhm.
I have to give a credit to Arizona Work also, great credit to county supporting us on that $0 cost to whether it's a sheriff department or a police department, anyone has to go through the training. Nidia, she's sitting here, so I have to give her credit. So this is a great partnership. Everyone get involved. This is a partnership, and millions of dollars this county is saving by doing this.
Glad to support it. Thank you guys. Thank you very much. And we're looking forward to seeing it be a reality. Thanks.
Thanks.
All right, so we're gonna move on. We're gonna move on to county administration, and we get an update by Buna George, Executive Director of the Greater Yuma Port Authority, and their activities. Thank you.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, Vice Chair, members of the board. Buna George, Executive Director to the Greater Yuma Port Authority. So right quick, I have a clicker, excuse me. Starting with our mission statement about developing a global, a gateway for global trade, facilitating trade, supporting multimodal transportation and economic opportunities within the Yuma County area. As far as our board members are concerned, recently we have added on Ian McGahey since Susan had retired, and then also Eric Holland from the Cocopah Indian tribe. So we really have a good mix of representation from the public and private industries. And jumping right into statistics. So we're just a quick data comparison for 2019, 2020, and 2021. The reason being for pre and post-COVID numbers, seeing that we peaked over 6,000 trucks here in March for 2021, keeping into consideration the community's peak season being November through April. As far as private vehicles, there was a significant dip in April of 2020 due to the border restrictions, and 2020 currently outpaces volumes from 2019. And in 2020, we obviously saw a steep decline in consumers from Mexico. With the pedestrian traffic, so the private vehicles and pedestrians, a number that reflect obviously our transnational region, living in Mexico but working here in the US, still with 2019 outpacing 2021. In Q1 comparison for 2021 to 2022, we saw an average of 89 vehicles a day crossing northbound. So if you think of NFL Stadium holds roughly 71,000 people, funneling 4 stadiums a month through the port of entry. For pedestrians, we're looking at about 6,600 people a day, and again, just those volumes are continuing to escalate in 2022. And then commercial vehicles also continuing to escalate. We're looking at about 180 trucks a day. Mind you, the pedestrian and the private vehicle is a 24-hour operation. Here with the commercial vehicle, it's a little bit more limited, but again, we're looking at extensive inspections, not just showing your passport, but obviously the paperwork entailed with the load, the driver, as well as a mechanical inspection through ADOT. Right quick on the San Luis One Port remodel, the $300 million project we've got going. So GYPA and Ramirez Advisors have been hosting the technical meetings, incorporating GSA and federal government representatives from Mexico. So we're just awaiting the alignment, awaiting the alignment confirmation from Mexico to proceed with the finalization of design and to begin procurement. So starting with 8 lanes and then expanding to 16 lanes just to bring forth the efficiency on the northbound traffic. As far as the economic development portion of the Port Authority with the Magrino Industrial Park, again, very grateful to the county for being able to partner with us as far as the ARPA was concerned and our loan. And a big thank you to Frank in the engineering, man. He has so many phone calls from me, so thank you, Frank. And with the contract being awarded to DPE, we are actually under contract for the entirety of the industrial park. We have found a organization that has the capacity and capital to provide build-to-suit, spec buildings, long-term leases, and land sales for the needs of the port users over at San Luis too. So being that it is under contract, the contract stipulates that it will be a completed and developed project before it turns over to them. So with ADOT, their Border Liaison Unit, I really have to highlight these guys. So they are traveling to users in Mexico and training the actual users in order to avoid reduce the overall out of service. And that's an IBIQ program. So the IBIC program trainings, they've done them in Texas, they've done them here in California. And then, so with training and preparing the drivers on mechanically what's speaking and the benefits of coming through Arizona, excuse me. Also, the Port Authority had met with, Lieutenant Colonel Timothy Chung. So this is a new leadership for a new task force that ADOT had partnered with DPS for. And again, that's just to streamline the efficiency, as far as inspections are concerned.
Nobody's suing anyone, right?
I'm sorry?
Nobody's suing anyone, right?
No, we are working in conjunction with each other as we
You
should.
just put sued financial resources. So I said, I'm sure you meant uses.
Uses, oh, I'm sorry, that's a typo on my end. You scared me. Perdón. So NASCO Network is a North American strategy for competitiveness. And as of last year, the GYPA is official member. In September, they're having their yearly meeting in Kansas City with Kansas City Southern and the NASCO network. So there's only 3 representatives from Arizona overall. They're very heavily based in Texas. But because of the fact that it focuses on an overall North American solution, Yuma deserves to be a part of that table because of our trade volumes through our ports of entry. So I'm very much looking forward to that trip. And then I had the opportunity to travel to Laredo, Texas. So basically, volume-wise, right? What San Luis does in a month, Laredo does in a day. So being at that port of entry and seeing exactly how those processes are streamlined was really eye-opening. NASCO, along with TAMIU, and it was actually an invite from R.L. Jones. I was able to attend the Ports of the Future. So it was a lot of good dialogue between, the Texas representatives as well as the Texas port users. And so essentially in 2018, I think was Laredo had 234 billion as far as their trade volumes. And, here in Yuma, we're seeing about 4.5 to 5. So it was really informative, really insightful, very eye-opening on what exactly a large volume or a large-scale operation looks like. And I was the only person from Arizona.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And we had met with a gentleman from FSX, and they had done a presentation to everybody there, and then I brought them forth to the board. Because of the fact that we always want to look for alternative transportation routes. So this is just a freight shuttle system. They actually have a full scale built out in Bryan, Texas. So they invited us out to look at it. And again, it's just an alternative method, lessen the inspection times. There's no immediate interruption, to traffic because of the fact that it's overhead. So again, just another possible viable option in the future, but we don't ever want to be 2 steps behind. We always want to see exactly what's coming up and forth. Lastly, I had the opportunity to be on a panel against illicit trade. So normally, I love to focus all of my conversations concerning the Port Authority on lawful trade and travel. When it comes to the illicit trade, it's a whole other conversation. So we had We had representatives from Washington, D.C., from Philip Morris, as well as some agencies that focused on national security and a gentleman who focused on shadow economics. So it was the overall concept of, illicit trade brings in a different type of money that goes into kind of its own economy. And unfortunately, it's just what the illicit trade brings. They also brought forth that it's not just drugs, it's counterfeit goods, and a lot of these counterfeiters have veered away from the currency, so they're no longer really focusing on the hundreds and the 50s because they're scrutinized some more, so it's like the 5s, the 10s, the 20s are being produced in higher volumes. So it was really insightful, and it was really nice to be on the panel. Yeah. So future action items, I've started a conversation with the University of Arizona for an entomology solution because there isn't a full-time entomologist at the San Luis Port of Entry. To see what that program looks like, a master's program, if that's something we can open up here in Yuma County, so we would have a more viable employment for the USDA to choose from. And then we want to continue to strengthen the partnerships with ADOT and DPS, possibly establishing an alternative truck route from San Luis 2 to SR 195 due to the escalation of residential building off of Avenue E. And then the DE corridor, that's something that Yuma County, Somerton, and San Luis are continuing to work on, and we just want to make sure that we're a viable partner for it. We started on our outreach to industry, to highlight basically the benefits of coming through Arizona as opposed to California. And in fact, next week I'm meeting with a gentleman who's looking at an expansion here in San Luis from Texas. So that's always wonderful news to have. So, and then remain an active partner in the San Luis remodel. That's probably going to be a 3 to 4 year project anticipated as of now. But labor and escalation and prices, et cetera, all to take care of. So kind of tying up with our mission statement about continuing to facilitate for global trade, always looking for different sources of transportation, and really helping our economic development community just continue to thrive here in the Yuma area. And with that, Mr. Chair, 4 years with GYPA this November, and I'd like to think that we're pretty happy with the progress that we've done. So with that, more than happy to take any questions.
Well, first of all, there'll be a comment. We've come a long way since you came on board, and I wanted to acknowledge that you have surpassed most expectations that everybody had when you came in, and that is good news. And that essentially and eventually we'd like to see the Great Yuma Port Authority become a true authority, and that looks like it's happening. So congratulations on all the work that led you to here, led us to here. Anything else? Well, thank you for your report. Keep an eye on it.
Thank you so much.
All right, we'll follow up with a presentation of the Yuma County Quarterly Safety Excellence Award by County Administrator Ian whatever. Well, I can't pronounce it. I tried many times. I'm going to butcher it up. I might as well just call him Ian, the County Administrator.
Morning, Chairman, members of the board, Ian McGahee, County Administrator. I'm pleased to recognize all the Safety Excellence nominees for the second quarter of 2022 and announce the winner of the Safety Excellence Award. Safety is a priority for Yuma County. We strive to ensure that Yuma County employees and the public have a safe, secure, and healthful place in which to work. The success of Yuma County and the Superior Courts are the direct result of the hard work and innovation that our valued employees deliver every day. The Safety Excellence Award recognizes county employees that consistently promote safety in the workplace. Any employee can nominate another employee for the Safety Excellence Award. All nominees are screened for eligibility and the committee selects the winner. Nominees are recognized in the UCount newsletter and they receive a certificate of achievement, a challenge coin, a safety pin, and a mug. The winner of the Safety Excellence Award will also receive a USafe tumbler and a check for $100. So today we'll be recognizing 5 employees that were nominated for the second quarter Safety Excellence Award from the months of April through June 2022. And I would like for each employee to come forward next to the podium when your name is called to be recognized as a nominee. Monica Escalante, the Safety Program Technician 2, will introduce the 5 nominees.
Good morning, Chairman and the board. I would like to call Jessica up here. That way she can help and assist me. And the first nominee is Denise Butler. If you can please approach the. And Denise Butler works for the Finance Department, and as a Finance Compliance Officer, Denise has been in the role for 6 months and has been with the county for 16 years. Denise has exceptional safety awareness. Denise observes and reports several safety hazards with the department's carpet, cables, and county vehicles. Due to Denise's observations and reporting, all identified hazards were fixed, repaired, or eliminated, which prevented accidents from occurring. Denise takes it upon herself to remind department staff of the safe personnel training programs and provides presentations to them on various safety topics. Thank you, Denise.
Thank you.
And
Thank you.
and if you want to go ahead and stand
It's not very safe to look, standing in front of us, I'll tell you that.
Okay, the second one is Sandy Gutierrez. If you can please come up to the podium. Sandy Gutierrez works for the Library District as the administrative assistant. Sandy has been in the role for 2.5 years and has been with the county for almost 21 years. Sandy prioritizes her work schedule to inspect all library branches to ensure they are safe and well-maintained. Sandra also conducts research to find cost-effective solutions to install eye wash stations throughout the main libraries in order to meet safety compliance. Sandra worked diligently at the main library to prepare for the Arizona Occupational Safety and Health inspection that took place in June 8, 2022, which resulted in minimal findings. The inspectors were very impressed and complimented the library for dedication to health and safety within the facility. Sandra also researched outside vendors to train and certify pertinent staff in forklift and scissor lift. Lastly, Sandra assisted the county elections team to ensure the libraries were ADA compliant for the election season. Thank you, Sandra. The next one would be Joe Rafa Lopez. Is there somebody that can be his behalf?
I'll take a check if he doesn't show up.
No, I'm fine, thank you. Thank you for your.
Joe Rafa Lopez.
It's not safe to be in front of Supervisor Pancras.
So Joe Rafa Lopez works for Public Works as a senior equipment operator. Joe has been in the role for 1 year and has been with the county for 5 years. On May 10, 2022, Joe Lopez was eating lunch with his co-workers, Juan Salcido, at the job site. While Juan was eating a portion of his food, it got lodged inside his throat, and it obstructed his airway and was having difficulty breathing. Without hesitation, Mr. Joe Lopez immediately began rendering aid to his worker, Juan Salcido. Joe Lopez recalled his prior first aid training and performed his Heimlich, which successfully cleared Juan's airway. On July 6, 2022, Joe Rafa Lopez was recognized and awarded with the Life-Saving Award for his heroic act. Joe Lopez also takes safety seriously by inspecting all crew equipment before and after each day and sets the safety examples for the rest of his co-workers. Thank you to Joe. Yeah.
Yes, go ahead.
Oh,
You're walking on that knee pretty good.
congratulations.
Our next
Tony
nominee.
has a hammer. Tony has a hammer.
You
so be
move,
careful.
you move backwards a little bit, I'll reach you.
is Jose Lopez. Please come up to the podium. So Jose Lopez works for Public Fiduciary as a case manager. Jose has been in the role for 1 year and has been with the county for 1 year as well. Jose identified several fire extinguishers unsecured inside a county vehicle while conducting a pre-vehicle inspection. Jose understood that rolling fire extinguishers can lead to accidental discharge and could cause further risk. Jose addressed the safety hazards, took initiative by obtaining toolbox cases to secure the fire extinguishers inside the vehicle, and contacted fleet management to complete the installation. Jose also identified that one county vehicle had a bad tire and voiced his concerns to his agency head. The vehicle was taken to fleet, where the tire was then replaced after being determined to be in a dangerous condition. Due to Jose Lopez's actions and awareness for safety, Jose Lopez prevented staff from being exposed to potential driving hazards, which prevented several accidents from occurring. Thank you, Jose.
They should have checked my truck, Jose.
Our next nominee is Felicia Vidal. Is there any?
Is there?
There she is. You were hiding back there, huh? So Felicia Vidal works for Public Defenders as a lead legal secretary. Felicia has been in the role for 1 year and has been with the county for 5 years. Felicia took initiative to develop a new procedure for staff in the office to avoid slip, trips, and falls. Felicia's appreciation for safety is exceptional because she is constantly updating the cleaning products list and entering the data into the safety data binders. Felicia also reports all unsafe work areas and ensures that hazards get resolved. Felicia recently attended the Southwest Safety Conference through the National Safety Council to educate herself more on safety and to work hand in hand with other county safety officers to be vigilant with any safety concerns. Thank you, Felicia. Now it's back to Ian.
Back to me for the winner. So I want to commend all of the Safety Excellence nominees. Well done. Your dedication to safety is appreciated. We have such deserving nominees, it was very difficult to select a winner. The committee, after much deliberation, did select a winner. And I'm pleased to announce our Safety Excellence Award recipient for the second quarter of 2022. Please join me in congratulating Sandra Gutierrez.
Yeah, make him stay there for a while. It's just safer.
You know what, have everybody just stay right here.
Yeah. Why don't you have him come back and just stay there? We'll take a picture with us behind him. It's safer that way. You don't have to step down. And it's safer.
Let me get my chair out. There. Oh, I was moving. Sorry.
Congratulations. Thank you. And thank you, Sandra. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Check's in the mail.
It's in her hand. Thank you.
I dropped it already.
Thank
For
you
those
all.
for those people who are waiting for me to move faster, I'm moving as fast as I can. Item number 6, presentation of the county line by Yuma 77, the Yuma County Government Channel. I'm giving time for people.
Yuma County Housing's Valley Vista Apartments connects to Somerton City water lines. Schools are back in session. We'll tell you how to keep our young ones safe while in school zones. And interested in becoming a community emergency response team member? We've got the details. These stories and more, this is your County Line. The Yuma County Housing Department recently connected to Somerton City Water, replacing the old water system that had been installed in the 1960s. Back in 2019, the Housing Department started looking for ways to improve the existing water system that had been deteriorating for several years. They contacted the Arizona Department of Environmental Quality and secured a grant to connect Yuma County Housing Department to the City of Somerton's water system. The housing's Valley Vista apartment office and 84 units will all benefit from better quality water as well as cost savings.
We don't have to pay for chemicals. We don't have to pay for all that. We don't have to have somebody on call or get a contractor to come and make sure that everything is doing. And you know, like I said, it's old filters. You know, even though we replace them every so often, you know, things need to be done. But I think the quality of water is going to be a lot better coming from the City of Somerton municipalities.
This project consists of 7,200 linear feet of 12-inch diameter PVC water line from the City of Somerton distribution system at Avenue F to the housing's Valley Vista apartments. With the water lines now connected, Valley Vista residents are already benefiting from the upgrade. If you're looking for more information on the Housing Department, visit our website at yumacountyaz.gov under Housing. School is back in session, which means more foot traffic from our children walking and bicycling to school. To help improve pedestrian safety and to keep kids safe, remind them to observe all traffic signals, stick to safe routes, and allow the school crossing guard to help look left, right, and left again before crossing the street, and continue looking and listening while crossing.
Kids are, told to stay in the street, stay in the crosswalks, but we know they're excited. They, jump around. They see friends. They want to go out and see them. So, driving slowly is one thing, but being cautious and being aware of those kids and anticipating them jumping out and needing to stop abruptly, and just kind of keeping an eye out for those accidents before they happen.
It's not safe to use a cell phone or text while walking. Whenever possible, make eye contact with the driver before entering the road. Cross the street at corners using traffic signals and crosswalks. For more information, please contact the Yuma County Public Health Services District at 928-317-4550. We never know when and how disaster may strike. That's why it's important to have a plan in place, and that plan involves community members ready to answer the call. Members of the Community Emergency Response Team, or CERT, are members of the community who have participated in training and can assist during times of disaster. CERTs complete a basic 20-hour program coordinated through the county's Office of Emergency Management and the Arizona Division of Emergency Management. The CERT program educates residents on disaster preparedness, giving community members skills in basic disaster response, including fire safety, light search and rescue, team organization, and disaster medical operations. If you'd like more information or would like to become a CERT member, please visit yumacountyaz.gov/OEM.
I'm Elia Juarez, and this is your library update. Did you know that having a library card doesn't just give you access to all of the library's great collection materials, but it could actually save you money as you shop around town? We'll tell you how. Did you know that September is Library Card Sign-Up Month? And the Yuma County Library every year runs a special promotion around town where if you have a Yuma County Library card and you show it at different businesses, you can get discounts or even free items. This year, the theme is La 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 Loud at your library. That is because the chairs are Idina and Kara Menzel. You may know Idina Menzel for her work on Broadway or as Elsa from the movie Frozen. She and her sister have written a book called Loud Mouse, so they want you to use your voice at the library. For more information on the Show Your Library program or any of our great events and activities at the library, make sure to check out our website at yumalibrary.org and follow us across all of our social media platforms.
We'd like to take a moment each quarter to recognize our Safety Excellence Award winner. This quarter, we recognize Sandy Gutierrez, who works as an administrative assistant with the Library District. Sandy ensured that the main library was prepared and ready for ADOSH safety inspections. She recognized the need for more eye wash stations throughout the library and found cost-effective solutions to have them installed. She blocked out the computer lab so she could work with maintenance staff to complete safety trainings. Sandy makes sure quarterly safety audits from all library branches are completed in a timely manner and recently worked with staff to provide forklift and scissor lift training. She goes above and beyond to ensure the library is a safe place for all, and that's why Sandy Gutierrez is the Safety Excellence Award winner this quarter. Before we go, we need to make sure you're aware of a change in our schedule for the next county line. Labor Day weekend is upon us, so please remember that most of your county offices will be closed on Monday, September 5th. That means your regular Yuma County Board of Supervisors meeting will be held on Wednesday, September 7th. Thank you for joining us for this county line. We'd like to know of any story ideas you may have. And if you're looking for stories we've covered in the past, log on to our website at yumacountyaz.gov/VOD. We'll see you on the next county line. Yuma County House.
Idea. Actually, when I saw Jesus Roldan there, the director of the housing department, he took a baseball team, a little league baseball team, all the way to the Nationals. He
I know.
actually won first place in New York, and then he took them to the Little League World Series. Sometimes we forget that county employees have sometimes a second and a third life somewhere out there as parents, or, they get involved in the community in different ways. Maybe we can add them to the county line and then recognize some of those, interactions that they have in the community. I just saw, I just remember when I saw him there that we haven't really recognized, all county employees. Oh, here he comes. All county employees are really good employees, but Jesus has gone way out there, and him and his kids really did a great job. And I thought, we needed to recognize him as a county employee in our county line. All right, well, I don't know if he heard that, but, we thought good about you.
Thank you for taking those kids all the way to New York.
Right. Okay, well, we'll highlight your contributions soon in the Yuma County line, and then we'll bring you back for something a little more formal than this. All right, I am going to move into the consent calendar. Oh, I think it's a consent calendar, yes. Everybody's been sort of waiting for me to move into the meat of the agenda here. I know the judge has been sitting there, looking, like somebody gave me a ticket, like, oh, I'm gonna wait for you to be in my court.
How often does a judge wait to come before?
Yeah, well, it wasn't intentional, Judge. Well, we're going to the consent calendar.
Just remember, it was Tony.
It was 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. There's 11 items in the consent calendar that they can be taken as a group and acted upon by one motion with no separate discussion unless a board member so requests. In that event, the item will be removed from the consent calendar for separate discussion and action. I am going to remove 10 and 11, I think. There's somebody here that wants to talk a little bit about 11. Are there any other items?
No.
No, if not, I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent calendar excluding items 10 and 11.
So moved.
I'll second.
Then motion and second to approve consent calendars items 1 through 11 with the exception of 10 and 11. All those in favor of the motion signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries. We'll take item number 10, which is Justice Court Administrator to accept grant funding from the Arizona Office of the Courts for court security improvements in the amount of $35,018. Is there something specific, Judge, that you want us to know? Like is it a...
Well, that I'm not asking you for any money.
Yeah, well.
Honorable members, Chairman, we've been pushing for this grant for this upgrade since 2017, and finally AOC gave us some money. And I know that you also approved on the budget from the CIP. So I want to tap on the grant first, which is the $35,000. We already sent out for bids. So I just need your authority so we could move forward on this project.
What are you buying with it?
Cameras.
Cameras?
They're outdated, state of the art. We're moving probably the monitors into a secured area in case we have, some issues, so we could monitor the court from within the court itself.
Does the court have a backup power system?
Yes, we do.
So
Yes,
you
we do.
tested it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And it's okay?
It's fine. Right now, it's fine. We've been upgrading. We've been doing some remodeling, some painting, thanks to the approval from our manager, but.
Metal detectors? You have a metal
Yes, we
detector?
do. We do have one.
You're okay, you just want to upgrade the
Exactly.
court system's video.
Exactly.
video
And
system.
the reason for that is we we're in a remote area. We have only one officer, and he needs all the support he can get, especially when we have cases and where it's required to look all the way to the parking lot, domestic orders of protection, or whatever the case may be. Yes.
I heard you wanted to put together a panic room, but I guess that's not.
And we do. We are working on that.
All right, well, anyway, so what you want from us, the authority to use those funds first, and then not to take off that item from your budget because you may
Exactly.
need the additional funds.
Yes, sir.
Is there any,
Make them,
well, go ahead.
I'd just make a motion we approve it.
I'll second.
Been a motion and second to approve the item as presented, which will allow the use of that fund first, okay? And not moving the budget at all. Any discussion on the item? If not, all those in favor of the motion signify by stating aye. See?
Aye.
Good
Thank
luck.
you.
All right. The next item is item 11, and it's to cancel the November 8, 2022 governing board elections for Yuma High School, number 70, Yuma Elementary School District number 1, Crane Elementary School District number 13, Hyder Elementary School District number 16, Mohawk Valley Elementary School District number 17, Welton Elementary School District number 24, Southwest Technical Education District of Yuma, Martinez Lake Fire District, Martinez Lake Road Improvement and Maintenance District, Hospital District number 1, and Yuma County Pest Abatement District, and to appoint and deem elected all individuals shown in Exhibit A and who filed nomination paperwork in each district fully vested with the powers and duties of the officers as if elected, and any remaining seats are deemed vacant and shall be filled as otherwise provided by law. Terms are effective January 1st, 2023, or as may be otherwise provided by law. Now, what normally happens, Jeffrey, is that whenever there's enough, there isn't more than the number required to serve. Really, we don't have to conduct an election. The expense doesn't have to be made. We sort of declare those people.
Chairman
the
Reyes, I
winners.
think I can save the elected officials some time. I'm Jeffrey Polson, Chairman of the Hospital District Number 1, and we signed up just in case there was any questions of the district. Once again, we've had 3 great citizens of this community willing to fill those 3 positions, so we don't have any further comment. But Mr. Chair, we do would like to have time on discussion action items number 6 if needed, sir.
What is number 6?
Taxing districts.
Oh, that's when we set the taxing districts? Okay, we can move it to there.
So if there's no question, sir, I'm good. I'm going to sit down.
I do have a question, and not
Yes,
from
sir.
from the elections director. No, thank you. Jeffrey, Mr. Poston, we don't have a question for you. We have I have a question for the election director, who's right behind you.
Hi, Mr. Polson, how are you?
I'll take it. Continue.
Tiffany,
Reyes, members of the board, Tiffany Anderson, Elections Director.
couple of comments, and one had to do with write-ins. Now, did we have anyone that actually made it as a write-in, as a candidate?
Chairman Reyes, I wonder if this question is best served for our discussion item, speaking of the 2022 primary election.
Do we have an item in the?
We do. This is the cancel and appoint item for the general election for our school and special districts.
Got it.
Yeah, we still have
All
some
right,
others on there.
so we do have recorded elections items in there.
Yes, sir, I believe we're discussion item 3.
All right, okay, well, we'll discuss it there. Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, now who asked for this item? I did? All right, well then, let's move on.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion that we approve item 11 as presented.
For a second.
There you go. Did you second it, Martin?
Second.
Okay.
Right, now, there's been a motion and a second to approve the item as presented. There have been no actual discussion of anything substantial. So any questions on this item? If not, all those in favor of the motion signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries. And then we are going to recess as the Board of Supervisors and call it actually meet as the Housing Board, Yuma County Board of Supervisors, as a Yuma County Housing Board, and we'll ask Board Member Virginia Garcia to come. Is she here somewhere?
Yes.
She's right there.
Okay.
She can go over there.
Here she goes.
And
Oh,
here- here's-
yes,
here's the
we can
tag.
have
We
her
can use
use
that.
that one. Yeah, that'll
Yeah.
work.
Allá a la esquina.
Come on that side. Good to see you.
You can actually beat up on Supervisor Porches and I won't mind. If he says anything you don't like, you can hit him.
Dale gas.
I will allow it. All right, so we're now meeting at the Housing Governor Board, and this is a consent calendar item. So the following listed on the consent agenda will be considered as a group and acted upon one motion with no separate discussion unless a board member so requests. In that event, the item will be removed from the consent calendar for separate discussion and action. Now, there's one item, I think, one item in general, and it's in the consent item, and it's more a resolution approving the certification of Section 8 Management Assessment Program for the fiscal year that ended June 30th, 2022 for the Housing Department as per HUD Title 24, Chapter 9, Part 985-101 of the Section 8 Management Assessment Program. What it means is that we're doing something that we normally do every year. We're just certifying it, and if nobody has any questions about the process or the results, I would entertain a motion to approve it under the consent calendar.
I'll make the motion that we approve.
We'll wait for you to second. You gotta say second.
Second.
Okay, but there's a motion and a second from Virginia. So we have a motion and a second to approve consent item number 1. And no discussion if it's a consent item. All those in favor of the motion signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries. That was the fastest one, easy one. That's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You can't leave, Jesus. You gotta stay here until the end. And then again.
Thank you again for taking those kids.
Thanks for coming over. It's important. So we now move to discussion and action items, which will be where the board will open each of the following items separately for discussion and action as appropriate, and we'll move into County Administration, Public Health Services, District Emergency Management, discussion and possible action regarding updates on contagious and infectious disease issues with and activities to include a discussion of events and activities that involve or affect county health and emergency management. You guys are spitwording this thing into almost anything, right? Thank you, attorneys, for working out on the verbiage. It is now all-inclusive. So the Director, Health.
Good morning, Chairman Reyes, members of the board, Diana Gomez, Director of Public Health. I wanted to give you a quick update on the changes that were just released by the CDC regarding COVID isolation. So the new guidance basically highlights the fact that, or is in response to, I'd rather say, the fact that between vaccination and acquired infection immunity from either of those, that the majority of our community has been exposed to COVID-19. So the new guidance states that if you tested positive and you have a healthy immune system, regardless of your vaccination status, and that's the big change, isolation can be ended in day 6 if you are not symptomatic. Once your isolation has ended, we still recommend wearing a mask. Just to be extra cautious. And the other big change is the fact that if you're exposed, you no longer recommend isolating if you don't have any symptoms. So we ask that if you've been exposed, that you watch for symptoms for 10 days and just wear a mask to just make sure you protect everybody else around you. And again, this guidance is meant to acknowledge the fact that we have, better therapeutics, better interventions. There's a lot of non-pharmaceutical interventions, methods that can help reduce your exposure, such as improving ventilation, again, hosting events outdoors, wearing a mask in crowded places. But I think those are the two primary changes, again, the changes to the isolation and testing. And I went ahead and sent those updates to our communications office right before coming. So if anybody wants to go on our website, they can see those in more detail. Again, testing is important. And so a reminder that you can get those test kits at the library free of charge. And those, there's a link. There's also a link on the library website. But again, those updates are up there. So those are the biggest changes. And then I also wanted to really, yes, sir.
Before you leave testing and before we I have a comment or a question to ask. First of all, the president, what happened to the president, the rebound, is that something that, is there a percentage of cases that have this sort of rebound where you test negative and then you test positive again?
So that was specific due to the fact that we have antivirals now. One of the antivirals that was used, that can happen. Sometimes, it works effectively and it lowers the virus level, which is what you want to do to prevent severe illness and disease. And so then there was a rebound effect where, once it was completed. Again, that is something that's listed as an antiviral as a possibility, and it can happen sometimes. But again, that's why you have that guidance of wearing a mask, just to be safe out of an abundance of caution. So that can happen. Again, that was specific to the antiviral use.
Right. So the second question has to do with testing. when people test at home, there's almost no possible way to really determine if people are doing it right or just sort of doing it offsite. Are we recommending at all that people who test positive at home get a second test from a more, well, I wouldn't say reputed source, but I mean from another source, just to sort of certify, well, not certify, but just to make sure that the test isn't a false positive or false negative in that case?
It's with antigen tests, they're less sensitive than a PCR test. PCR test, the virus is amplified several times so that you can work with a much smaller level of the virus. Antigen tests are a little less sensitive. So it's, to answer your question, it is more likely that you will test negative if you're using it at home test, because you might not be doing it right, or you might not have the right level of virus or enough for it to capture it, than to have a false positive. If the test is giving you a positive result, it's likely that you are positive. So we typically don't recommend that way. But if you test negative, and we've had this happen, and you're symptomatic, we recommend that you either test again, maybe a day later, 2 days later, or that you get a more sensitive PCR test, because that does happen where people are symptomatic and they're, for whatever reason, they're not testing positive in those take-home antigen tests, but they will test positive if they test 2 days later. So symptoms is a big thing to look for, but it's unlikely that you will get a false positive.
So if you test positive and you test positive at home and you feel like you need to work, what we basically telling people is, look, if you have to go to work or if you need some sort of a certificate that you're positive, you would have to go to a testing site, one. And second, please, you stay home if you can. And if you can, wear a mask at all times. Is that more or less?
Sick, and the guidance is different, for healthcare workers. But if you are sick and you have symptoms, we want you to stay home. If you are not symptomatic and you have no symptoms whatsoever and you tested positive, then the guidance is you wear a mask, depending on the guidance at your workplace. So this is just guidance. Workplaces have different specific requirements for their employees, and I know that some require a PCR test, some require, so we ask people to check with their employer regarding that. But again, the change here is symptoms. If you're symptomatic, then obviously you have a higher level of the viral load, you're more likely to infect people, which is what we want to prevent. And at the end of the day, we want to prevent you from getting seriously ill and having to seek medical care. We don't want to overwhelm the healthcare system, but people know their symptoms. So if you do get worse, please don't delay getting medical attention. Or if you're at that at-risk group where you're immunocompromised or you have a heightened reaction to things like respiratory infections, please talk to your doctor about antivirals or some other options that they can do to minimize your risk of getting seriously ill.
We still recommend people to boost up if they have been, like the vaccine is a year old.
Yes, so there's again, an updated schedule for that for boosters. We recommend people, vaccination still remains effective in preventing severe illness and disease. And so if you go to our website, there's a link that breaks it down because it's a little confusing. But again, if you're at that high risk group or you're more susceptible to illness, we recommend that you get a booster. And again, you can go on our website and click on the immunizations link and see that updated schedule.
Right. Want to continue or?
And really quickly, I just wanted to, we've had some questions about monkeypox. So I wanted to just give a really brief overview. So far, we've tested, we've had the opportunity to test 5 or 6 samples, and that just was over an abundance of caution. And I don't want to jinx it, but we haven't had a case here. We have had cases in Arizona. I think our confirmed case count in Arizona as a whole is 170 cases. In the United States, we have over 11,000 confirmed cases. So the symptoms for that, for infection show up very similar to flu, like everything else, except you have a rash. And it's a very distinctive rash. Transmission is mostly through skin-to-skin contact, and even though it's possible through respiratory droplets, it is uncommon. So you can also get it by touching infected surfaces or fabrics, or through a bite or scratch of an infected animal, or eating infected meat. So that is how you can get it. There is no treatment for that. It's supportive therapy, so just to make the symptoms more manageable. But there is antivirals, and there is also a vaccine. The vaccine has been proven to be over 85% effective in preventing the virus. Right now, the general population, we're not recommending vaccination for the general population. We're recommending if you've come in close contact or once there is a case. But again, that guidance for the recommendation is on our website, and you can also click on a link if you want more information that's broken down specifically on our website. The onset of the disease, so from exposure, typically takes maybe a week, but it could be as early as 5 days or as long as 21 days. And typically, it takes about 2 weeks to recover fully. So again, more details are on our website. We have a section devoted for that. And I just wanted to address it because we've had questions about whether we've had a case. We haven't. Whether we're prepared, we are. And what the criteria is for the vaccination. And again, so anybody in the public that wants to know more information is welcome to call our office or click on any of our links so they can get more detailed information.
Very specifically, the vaccine is not available for everybody. It's just people who have been in contact, who travel, those kind of things. It's not a general population type situation. So people, please don't ask, if we have the vaccine. We probably have it, but it's very specific for people who have some sort of link to it.
And you've kind of heard it's in short supply right now, but we do have access to it. So should we have a case or a known exposure, we would be able to get it and then proceed from there. But yes, to your point, not generally available.
Any questions? Thank you again for bringing this up. I know that your presentation in this case was short, which is nice. It was good. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, we'd like you to stay until the end of the meeting, but. Well, the next item in the agenda is item number 2, which is County Administration discussion on partial action to accept the letter of retirement from precinct number 1, Constable John Nosar, then appoint a constable for precinct number 1, effective October 1, 2022, to fill the remainder of the term until the newly elected constable takes office in January 2030. Are you doing anything on this, or do you just want us to proceed? I mean, it's kind of simple. It's just accepting the letter of resignation and appointing Mr. Gradias, who I think is right here, to continue the remainder of the term, correct?
Yes.
Do I hear a motion to that effect?
So moved.
There's been a motion and a second to approve the item as presented. In this case, will be to accept the letter of retirement from Constable John Nosar and appoint Mr. Gradias as a replacement beginning on October 1st, 2022, filling out the remainder of the term until he can actually take office as a newly elected precinct constable. Mr. Porches did the first and
I did the second.
Pancrazi did the second. All right, so all those in favor of the motion, no discussion? No? All those in favor of the motion signify by stating aye.
Aye.
I don't think you get a choice here. We're doing it. We're doing it, man. Anybody opposed? Oh, everybody. This is unanimous vote. Thank you, Mr. Gradias. Go forward.
Thank you.
Mhm.
All right, so we'll go to recorder election, certify the unofficial results of the August 2nd, 2022 primary election, and declare the nomination of for the candidates who received the largest number of votes in each contest of ballot for each political party. All right, so this is where we ask a couple of questions.
Good morning, Chairman Reyes, members of the board. Tiffany Anderson, Yuma County Elections Director. The item before you today is to canvass the results for the August 2nd, 2022 primary election. I'm happy to report that the election was very successful here in Yuma County. We had 8 vote centers, including 3 mega centers. Just a reminder, a mega center is those locations that have more than 1 vote center's worth of equipment and personnel for election day. We had a 24% voter turnout. This is actually higher than our historical trend of midterm primaries, which is around 22%. We also had a larger than expected in-person attendance on election day. It was actually more than twice the in-person turnout as our 2020 primary election. This led to some minor issues like running low on ballot paper and provisional envelopes. That was quickly remedied by having our runners take the necessary supplies to those vote centers. We had low wait times throughout the county except for Cesar Chavez Cultural Center at the end of Election Day. This was due in large part to, one, the higher than expected in-person turnout, as well as half of our election board not showing up on Election Day. We're taking lessons learned and informing our planning for the general election to accommodate what we're expecting as a continued trend of in-person attendance on Election Day. Our office has received positive feedback from election workers and our political party observers, so I'm personally very proud of that. And also, we couldn't do this without the support of our other county departments. So I extend the highest level of gratitude to county administration, facilities management, information technology services, communications, human resources, the library districts, and all law enforcement agencies throughout the county. We are truly demonstrating that the county is one team, and we're all in it together to make sure that our elections here locally run smoothly. We conducted an official hand count for the primary election. It was conducted on Saturday, August 6th. All three Yuma County political parties participated. There were 3 teams of 3 individuals of various party, I would say bipartisan, but the Libertarians were there as well, so, tripartisan, I suppose. 9 hand count participants total. They hand counted 1,700 ballots, including 3 randomly drawn early ballot batches of approximately 300 total, 2 randomly drawn vote centers, which were Martin Luther King Jr. Career Center and St. John Newman Catholic Church, which is actually our most well-attended vote center on Election Day. There were a lot of ballots. And 4 randomly drawn contested races were the ones that were hand counted. That included the Republican Corporation Commissioner, Republican State Treasurer, Republican U.S. Representative Congress, both District 7 and 9, and Republican State Representative District 25. Out of all of those almost 1,700 ballots, only one discrepancy was found. The team identified voter credit to a mark that was made outside the bubble on a ballot, so the tabulator didn't have a chance to count that vote. So the count for that vote center was off by 1 vote. That leaves us with a 99.91% accuracy with our tabulators. And at this point, I'm available for any questions.
All right, so the initial question was, how were the write-ins accounted for?
For the first time in Yuma County, we are doing what we call write-in adjudication, which is where we're electronically counting the votes for official write-in candidates. What that afforded us is our official write-in candidates are in our summary report. So the report that you're canvassing today has the official write-in candidate votes only in their assigned totals. All other write-in votes will show as unassigned. I believe the only write-in candidate for a county level race was Mr. Nuno on Republican Constable Precinct 2, which you can find on page 10 of our summary report. And there were 89 official votes cast for that individual.
And he needed
138 to qualify for the general election ballot.
Right. Mm-hmm. On the legislative front, was there any candidate that?
There is. Miss Michelle Pena was Republican Representative. Representative District 23. In Yuma County, she received 404 votes. However, we won't know if she qualifies for the ballot until the statewide canvass a week from now on August 22nd, because that district does cross county boundaries.
So until we get the Councilman Avondale and the places where she could still gather some write-in ballots, we won't know. We
won't know until the state's canvass this time next week.
Do we know what she needed to?
It was in the 400s. Since it's a state race, the signature requirements don't come out of our office. They come out of the Secretary of State's office. But I think someone informed me that she needed perhaps 429 supervisor lines. Are you aware?
I think that's close.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there's a likelihood that there will be a candidate, a write-in candidate.
She's certainly very close.
Very close.
Right. Okay, now, on the, obviously that the generals, it's going to require more than, instead of less. I mean, you're actually looking at a higher percentage of people voting, aren't you?
Correct. Our midterm generals tend to be in the low 40s for voter turnout. So we're expecting approximately double the turnout what we saw for the primary.
Are you getting ready differently for the general? I mean, are you doubling the centers? Are you doing more?
We are increasing our machines and staffing to close to, if not equal to, what we would plan for a presidential general election. The increase in in-person dictates that we fully staff as if it's a presidential cycle, just to be certain that we don't have long wait times.
Mr. Chairman. So what are we going to do about the election boards? Some type of a backup. You said we didn't have
People
all
that
the election
didn't show up.
boards.
Right. So what we usually do, we have a backup list and we try to call people on election morning if there are no-shows. That's difficult because those people aren't always trained. It's a little bit chaotic. So in anticipation of higher than usual or higher than expected in-person turnout, if we staff it as if it's a presidential general and we have a couple people don't show up per location, we will still be more than fully staffed for this election.
Now, in places like South County where the ballot boxes to drop or remove because of concerns with safety, I mean, I saw the ballot box that was placed here. Is there a particular concern for safety that has to do with the ballots themselves? I mean, it doesn't seem. Did you get anybody, like tearing up ballots or doing something to the ballot boxes? Because
No.
what happened in San Luis is that you placed the ballot box inside the library, which was closed on Monday and Sunday and Saturday before the election. So leaving that whole area with there is no home pickup from the post office. So that whole area was left with nowhere to deposit their ballots until they took them to, the day of the election. We got to discuss that a little bit further.
Chairman Reyes, if I may, that was a decision made by the elected county recorder, not my office. That may be a discussion that you could have with Mr. Colwell before the general election. However, there were substantiated concerns over both voter and observer safety when it came to our ballot drop boxes. And we felt that the best decision at this time was to move them inside the library where our patrons could feel safe dropping those ballots off.
Well, I'll have the discussion with the recorder because I don't think safety. I think safety was an issue. Observers were an issue, but you allowed cameras everywhere in Yuma, in San Luis, which was supposedly be one of the reasons why you didn't want this to happen. So let's just not get into that. Let's certify the results. We'll talk to the recorder about the fact that in areas in South County, there is no home delivery. There's no home pickup for the post office. So it is a different area. It is too long of a discussion to have over time here. We will have it, sometime in the near future with the recorder and yourself probably.
Thank you, Chairman Reyes.
Mr. Chair, I have a question.
Mr. Chairman, just
Hold
so
on.
we
I
understand.
know, we're not going to
we're
get
just
into it.
certifying the election.
We're
We're not here to
certifying the
discuss
results
it.
of the election. Got it.
Okay, can I ask my question, John, or no?
Yeah, that's the question. If it's related to certified.
Would change the outcome of your vote on a certification, you may ask the question, but if it's not related to certification, it's not set for the agenda for that purpose.
Okay, I'll ask you later.
All right, well, then we got to certify the election. That's what the item is
I
for.
move we certify the primary election.
There's been a motion and second to certify the unofficial, or make the official results of the August 2nd, 2020 primary election pursuant to Arizona revised statutes, and will declare the nomination of the candidates who received the largest number of votes in each contest for the ballot for each political party.
If I could, I think Recorder Colwell had a few comments that he wanted to make as well before we concluded the item.
All right, then, we can have a motion and then we can discuss it and then we can vote on it. So is there a motion?
So moved.
Oh, it was moved in second already, so yeah, now we can go to discussion.
Morning, Board. I'm Rick Caldwell, the County Recorder. I'm not going to take much time. Tiffany covered a lot of what I was going to cover, basically to thank the people for the job they did. But I certainly want to recognize what the employees in the Recorder's office did. Tiffany and her team, there's only 4 of them. And they run elections from A to Z. I mean, getting out there and getting the equipment out there in advance, setting it up, testing it, and making sure it's all running for the 6th. Also, the other section, the voter services section, I was amazed at the work that they do behind the scenes. And even our third section, the recorder function of that office, they get called in to help as they're needed. And I just wanted to say that I've had a short time here as the recorder. I started July 18th, but I've seen the quality of the people working in that office. There are only 14, including me. They are among the most competent, caring, honest, and professional individuals that I've had the opportunity and privilege to work with. And I'm certainly not up here to take any credit for that. I'm here to give the credit to the people who truly deserve it. And that's the statement I wanted to make.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
All right, very good.
Okay, people, we got to vote on this. That didn't change anyone's mind, did it? I hope not. So all those in favor of the motion signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. All right, thank you, Tiffany. And we'll move on to engineering. We have to conduct an auction to lease assessors, county-owned parcel at 9 a.m., well, soon thereafter. This is thereafter. And authorize the county administrator to sign the lease agreement with the highest bidder at the above the minimum bid. Do we get any bids?
Chairman Reyes, members of the board, Frank Sanchez, county engineer. We received a request to possibly lease a county-owned parcel located just north of the Valley Vista housing complex that actually served as the old sewer treatment for that complex. And so staff acquired an appraisal, advertised the parcel on the newspaper, and we do have one interested bidder on that property.
Question. Is it going to require that we remove anything from the site?
Nothing. Everything's pretty much cleared out of that parcel.
All right, so do we have to go through a bidding process? Do we have to open it to a bid and then a bid has to be read?
Similar to past auctions.
Right. We will conduct an auction. So we will open the bids, and we open the bids on a county-owned parcel at 9 a.m. Well, we open it now. Are there any bids? Bid number one. And are there any other bids?
Supervisor, Chairman Reyes, the minimum bid for the parcel is $2,164.50.
Should have stated that on the bid, that the minimum bid is $2,600 and what?
$2,164.50.
Okay, so is the bid number one meet that requirement?
Pardon?
Do you meet that requirement? Is your bid above 2,164? Got it. Okay, so the bid meets the requirements. Is there a second? Is there anybody else that wants to bid? Well, bid going once, going twice, gone to bidder number one. So, okay, the motion will be to accept the bid and authorize the county administrator to sign the lease agreement with the highest bidder.
So moved, Mr. Chair.
Is there a second?
Second.
Been motion and second to accept the bid from number one and authorize the county administrator to sign the lease agreement. Any discussion on that? If not, all those in favor of the motion signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? That was a very painful aye. I didn't hear much, but I'll assume everybody else said aye, but they sort of mumbled.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Aye. All right. Okay, that takes care of that one. And then we go to Public Works, which is authorize the county administrator to execute a declaration of environment use restriction for property with engineering controls and institutional controls for a portion of the Adair Park property contingent upon legal review. Scott?
Morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Josh Scott, Public Works Director. I think most of you are familiar with the issues out at our Adair Park archery range and the lead contamination out there. It's been a long road. I was pretty optimistic when I picked this project up about 5 years ago, thinking we could get it done in about 18 months, but here we are. So we've had some challenges with ADQ, some hurdles they threw up along the way, but we've pushed through those and we're kind of at the finish line now. So just to recap, in 2006, there were some remediation efforts done out there. However, they were never properly closed out with the state. So the site remained open with ADQ in their voluntary remediation program. In the intervening years, since 2006 and when we picked this up again in 18,
The soil remediation levels for lead changed and became more restrictive. So we were required to go back, do additional sampling, and remediate the site to the new standard. There were some other loose ends that we tied up along the way as well. So we've dotted the I's, crossed the T's this time, and this DEWR, the Declaration of Environmental Use Restriction, is the last piece of that puzzle. It is a covenant that will go over the top of the archery range, and it restricts the use of the archery range to recreational purposes, meaning it can never be developed or redeveloped as anything but that archery range that's there today. A little bit of overkill, in my opinion. The deed that the county got from the federal government for that property requires that it be used only for archery and shooting range purposes, and would revert back to the federal government if we tried to change that use anyway. But it's on ADEQ's list to check that box. The DEWR was written by ADEQ. We've had a couple of drafts that have been through the county attorney's office for review. We just got the final version that's in your packet emailed over on Wednesday. So we're going to get one last review from the county attorney's office before we got Ian go ahead and sign. That won't quite be the end of it, however. So another interesting thing along the way here is Yuma County is the first governmental agency to enter into a DEWR with ADEQ. One of the stipulations in that DEWR is that we provide financial assurance that we could repair and replace the engineering controls we constructed out there as part of this. It's about $500,000, a little bit over that. So Gil and I have spent a lot of time with ADEQ and even the Attorney General's office on trying to satisfy that requirement. Despite the board's policy for keeping a healthy reserve in the general fund that far exceeds that $500,000. So what it boiled down to is they want audited financial statements. Those audited financial statements most likely won't be available until the end of the calendar year. So once ADEQ gets those audited financials, they'll countersign that DEWR and we'll get it recorded. So we're teeing this up to get this thing done before the end of the calendar year.
Is there a process where the county can actually get a performance bond, some sort of a smaller bond that will accompany that project for, whatever, how many years they want the security on?
So, I don't know if you recall through the budget process, Gil showed that we were reserving that $16,000 for this project, setting it aside specifically for this. Despite the board's approval of that budget, ADEQ still wants an audited financial statement.
Well, that's my point. My point is we get into this all the time with, projects where the assurances are posted, basically. You say you have the finances to do the project, and they still want a bond, or they still want some sort of assurance that if you're not around.
So if this were a private entity, they would accept like a letter of credit from a financial institution. We talked about that route with them. The treasurer acts as our bank. That wasn't enough to satisfy them. So,
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Gil Villegas, Chief Financial Officer. Like Josh mentioned, we've been on this process for quite some time right now, going back and forth with ADEQ. That was one option that they proposed to us for us to actually deposit the entire amount, though. And I don't think it was proper for the county to tie that much money. So the other option was for us to show the financial ability that if in an emergency, we're going to be able to cover this cost. Like Josh mentioned during the budget process, if you notice in our contingency line item, I specifically identified the amount to be there. So according to ADEQ and the attorneys, that's not enough. We also have to issue financial statements, audited financial statements. We also have to keep a credit rating of AA and above. There is a couple of letters that I need to issue and post it in a public place. So it's mostly the requirements that we need to do to satisfy the requirement.
It's the government work.
Like Josh mentioned, I think this is the first one ever in the state, right?
Yes, with another governmental agency.
So I guess they're trying
to cover their,
Yeah, there was quite a bit of discussion early on how to treat us because they hadn't been down this road before. So we talked.
Yeah, there's plenty of discussion on how to treat them.
And staff, and this is where we ended up.
All right, so you guys don't feel the need, don't feel the urgency. You guys can wait until the audited financial statements come in and they will sign it. You don't feel like you need to do anything until then.
We've been doing this since 2000.
Mr. Chairman, I don't think so. This site's been sitting there, the remediation's done. We just want to get everything teed up in the coming months so that once it all comes together, we can get that recorded. And the last thing that will happen is ADEQ will issue a no further action. That means we are done with the remediation, we've done our part, no further action will be required.
I guess this is like a marathon. We gotta have to get it done.
Josh, do you think they'll change and increase the
You
change?
shouldn't say that.
Will they change the requirements before then?
Nothing has indicated that they will, but we are at this point now to where if we can get this executed in the next month or two on our end, we'll just be waiting on ADEQ to review that final paperwork, the audited financials, and
I think we ought to move on this and just sort of put it in the books and let the ships fall where they may. I thought we could have if we had a need to do something quicker, but we've done whatever we need to do. Legal review will see it, you will sign it, and then we'll wait for them to get whatever they need to confirm it, and that's it.
I do want to mention one other thing. So a stipulation in this doer is a requirement that we incorporate any restrictions into any leases we have on this property. And the county does have a lease with Adair Ranges, Inc. They're the O&M vendor out there. So I'll work with Ronnie Gissendaner over there to amend that lease, and I'll be back to you in the coming months prior to this recording. It should be simple. We'll just reference the doer and
Never say it should be simple.
I know, and make a reference that Yuma County is responsible for the inspection and maintenance of those controls out there, and make sure that's clear. It's not an Adair Inc. responsibility.
Should be simple.
Should be simple. Knock on wood.
Yeah, I'll entertain a motion to go ahead.
I'll make a motion.
Is there a second? There's been a motion and a second to approve the county administrator to execute a declaration of a doer for property with engineering control, institutional controls for a portion of the Adair Park property, contingent upon legal review. There's a motion and a second. Any discussion on the item? If not, all those in favor of the motion signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries, and we move on to financial services. All special taxing districts to establish and adopt property tax rates and assessments for taxes for all applicable Yuma County direct and overlapping general authority, special districts, and improvement districts for fiscal year 22-23, pursuant to a revised statute, Arizona revised statutes 42-17151, as indicated on the attached schedule. The schedule is available for review from the agenda packet on the web at the Board of Supervisors meeting. Before you begin, let me just make it perfectly clear that the Board of Supervisors takes this, those rates provided by all these districts, with the exclusion of 4 or 5 of them, which I'm not going to mention individually, it has to basically accept what they send. We cannot tell them what to assess. We cannot change what they assess. We can only approve it and basically send it over to the treasurer, the assessor and treasurer, to make sure that they can collect this taxes or this district fees as spoken before, correct?
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Gil Villegas, Chief Financial Officer, that is correct. For the exception of a very few districts, well, the majority of the improvement districts that you have discretion on, the library district, property tax, flood control, and of course the general fund, Yuma County property tax levy. Everything else is either levied by their specific boards and by the municipality, being the city of San Luis, Somerton, or Yuma. Right. So what I'm asking the board this morning, and I have the spreadsheet available for your convenience, it was provided to you in the package as well. So this morning I'm asking the board to adopt and approve the direct and overlapping spreadsheet. Once it is approved and adopted, it will go to the treasurer's office for them to include it into the tax road. Like every year that I've been doing this, I had an opportunity to review this and work very closely with the school superintendent office, the treasurer's office, and the assessors. We go through an extensive review. We check each one of the ordinance that we get from those special districts and from the municipalities, make sure that we're capturing the right rate, the right levy, and the right amount.
All right, Mr. Poston's here. I would, I'm supposed representing the hospital district because there were some questions about their ability to, I guess, set a tax rate. I would say that if nobody's asking the question, I wouldn't answer it myself, but, I'm still letting you, if you want to make a statement before we go ahead and approve this, for the record.
Chairman Ray, I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
give him a
Chairman
second.
Reyes, thank you for the opportunity. We're here just to see if there's any questions, comments, or concerns and answer those on behalf of the district to the board of supervisors, but if there's no questions, comments,
I'm not sure this is a public meeting, a public item in the agenda, but I will make it a public item in the agenda. If anybody wants to make any comments about any of the taxing authorities or any of the fees that, as they've been presented to us, this is the time. Ma'am, you want to come up and give us your name and comment? We'll get back there, Hill. Oh, hold on.
And Kevin too.
Okay.
My name is Angie Mitchell. I live in Mesa del Sol, 10531 South Majesty Way. This may not be the appropriate venue, as you alluded to, but there's a few of neighbors in a new subdivision in Mesa del Sol called Purple Mountain Ranch. We have some specific concerns about some front-loading assessments that seem to be happening. We're not sure exactly what we're asking for, but the numbers look really, really skewed. My specific concern is that 3 to 4 years ago, I used to be president of the Property Owners Association for Mesa del Sol, and we worked with some of your staff on some improvement district issues and frankly kind of got in crossways, and we were assessed a special, I don't know what the terminology is, I call it pain in the butt, special assessment that I feel is very retaliatory because we often ask for accountability or input into some of the improvement district landscaping issues and various things like that. So we're here today to find out what, where, or how we should be pursuing that. Obviously, our supervisor is not here today and haven't had much luck working with him. So I know you said there's not much discretion in the benefit district rate, but obviously there is. Mesa del Sol pays a much higher rate than any of the other 300 plus assessment special districts. So I wanted to bring that to everybody's attention and try to get some direction as to how we can affect this issue.
Oh, Hill, you time to answer.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, just to provide a little more context on the Purple Mountain Ranch, there are 2 improvement districts out there, county improvement districts, street lighting and an irrigation and water. Very new districts, 2 of them. We started levying taxes last fiscal year, and the majority of the money was for the irrigation water district. For the fiscal year 23, the tax rate is actually going down from the prior fiscal year. And sometimes it's not uncommon that if we are trying to set up a budget or if we are preparing to collect money for expenditures that is going to come in the future, for the assessment to be adjusted the second year. So just like I said, for the irrigation water district, which also is going to maintain, I think, a couple of facilities there, the assessment, the total levy is going down from 5,800 to 4,000. The tax rate is also going down with that as well. And for the street lighting, we usually get an estimate from APS, The assessment is going down from $1,100 to $1,000.
So both assessment, both district assessments are going down this year
That is correct.
in both the amount of money collected and the tax rate.
And the tax rate, yes. Now, for the irrigation water improvement districts, we usually work very closely with the improvement district coordinator. This is the person that pretty much sets the improvements or the repairs or the expenditures that are to happen in that improvement district. So we take those numbers and we do our calculations, and then that's when we prepare
would
the
that be?
assessment. That's Ms. Rachel Stalworth.
So I think the conversations need to be had early with Rachel. When you're going to talk about a district assessment that is set by that, the conversation should be early with her about, okay, is this a true cost of what it takes to get the water delivery system, pay for it? And I think that's who, if your question is, ma'am, who should we talk to? I think Rachel Stalwart would be the person you talk to before you get to it. I think that she would give you who to talk to in terms of who's sending her those numbers. Because I don't think she makes them up. She needs to have this from the water district, irrigation district. She needs to have this from APS. She just doesn't come up with the numbers
No,
herself.
Mr. Chairman, it's a very elaborate process. For the street lighting district, we usually get estimates from APS, and they tell us, well, for this number of lights that you have, street lights you have out there, the cost is going to be this much. So that's what we adjust.
What the lady wants, she just wants to know. She just, it's not a matter of how much it is.
Right now
Yeah.
on 4 or 5 houses, yes, they're gonna be corrected next year. But in the meantime.
Hey, that's surprising me a
Oh,
little
the
bit because
Purple
I'm,
Mountain part, excuse me.
okay, go ahead, finish it.
Purple Mountain is being front-loaded is what you're saying?
Yes, there are only a few residents built yet, and ultimately there will be many more, but.
Wait,
and I
okay, let me
appreciate
just,
that it's going down, but it's still.
all right, so is this a development that is not full yet?
Yes.
Okay, that's why you say it's front-loaded, right? That's what you mean when you say it's
That's,
front-loaded.
yeah, there's, yes.
Yeah, I think that's a nature of development there.
Or yes, it's based how the district was formed, and this two particular districts based on valuation. So the owners with the more valuation out there usually gets the.
If you own an empty lot, you'll pay a lot less than you would pay if you have a home. That's what, it keeps going up. It's basically not so much front loader as it's unfair to the people who are now coming in first. It's the nature of that.
Well, not to mention, that subdivision has added millions and millions and millions of dollars of homes in the last 5 years. These are fixed costs. They should be going down, not going up. I mean, a
They're
street
not.
light is a street light.
But
He
they're
said it
not.
was going down.
The assessment is actually going down. That is
Yeah, the more
correct.
people live there, the
Mr. Chairman, I want to make clear, my office, we're more than willing, and we often do it, we talk one-on-one with residents if they have questions about the tax bill, because we have to remember, it's not only one improvement districts. There's a number of different taxing entities that go into their tax bill, and sometimes if we can explain that better to them. to the
Yeah,
customer.
you just happen to be the messenger of 14, 15, 16, sometimes even more taxing districts that go into the bill. There's college, there is, schools, there is.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, this year we have 310 taxing authorities levying taxes.
Well, ma'am, I just want to make sure that you know that there's always someone you can talk to about your
So
situation.
we can contact you directly as part of the neighborhood association?
Most definitely, yes. I can provide additional information in regards to the tax rates and what's being assessed, what's been levied, and the reason for that as well.
And ma'am, I'm happy, if you'd give me your information, I'll happy to have staff reach out to you directly.
Okay, because we're not allowed to talk to Rachel.
Well, I think he could say.
Or your predecessor, just because we had issues. So I don't know who is currently assigned.
Well, I'm happy to talk to you at any time, so, very good, thank you.
All right.
I think, Justin, did you write that?
Yeah, sure.
Hello, everyone. Justin Crouch. I also am a new resident like Angie in Purple Mountain, and we share some of the same concerns with the rates, as Angie eloquently put, front loading. Just for instance, the estimated tax bill for our area is on the average of $10,000 for next year. And when you break out just those 2 additional levies for those improvement districts, one of them for the landscaping irrigation is higher than any other rate that we're getting assessed, and equates to, of that $10,000 tax bill, about $3,000 to pay for irrigation. So not to say that that's not accurate, but now there's about 6 houses paying $3,000, on the order of $2,000 to $3,000 for maintaining a right-of-way landscape across the outside perimeter of the neighborhood, which is about a quarter mile long. So it's a little. It was enlightening to us to receive those notices of that levy. Great, we can see that's going down. To Angie's point about I think what she was referring to about we're seeing an increases in the general Mesa del Sol tax levy. It's gone up consistently over the last 5 years. So that's, I think, to her point where
probably lightning. Yeah.
So anyway, we there's several of us in attendance here today, all sharing the same concern, but understanding that this may not be the right venue to get after that. We made some calls back in May when those assessments came out, and what we were told was to attend this hearing to talk about it, and too little too late at this point. But we'll for sure reach out to you, Gil, and
again, I want everybody to understand it does not make any difference in the general budget. Whatever is collected for that district goes to that district. So it essentially for us, it really, we wish everybody's tax bill was really low, but it's based upon the cost that is assessed to whomever lives in that area. The more people live in that area, the more evaluations go up. Well, it's a cycle that is pretty ugly, because the more your land is worth, the more you assess. And the less people that live there, the higher the assessment is for every individual, which is what you call front loader, which I think what you actually mean is, look, it's just heavy. It's heavy into whomever lives there first.
The last one in the neighborhood, we all have fronted, a much higher cost for the same benefit, really.
Well, one, I think that what we want to make it clear is that one, the amount of money that's set aside for those improvements comes from that particular area. It comes from the water district. It comes from APS. Those are not issues that we have control over. But you can talk to Regis Starwood, you can talk to Gil Villegas about how you go about doing this. And I think that the only solution that I can think of as a developer of properties is that, man, the first people who live in a subdivision always get tagged with the highest cost until more people live there and there's more people to distribute the load on, especially if it's a fixed cost. And landscaping, the district is a district, right? So it's not the street light in front of your house, because you may not even have one in front of your house. It's the street light that covers all the subdivision, and so does it applies to landscaping. It is the whole landscaping, not just what's in front of you that you're getting charged for. A portion of it. I truly understand and feel there should be a way to adjust that, but it's not given to us. It's just, we have to assess it and we have to collect it. Hopefully you will have an opportunity to talk to the person that's in charge of that and find out a little more detail what's going on. What we see is that there's a reduction, and the more people that live there, there will continue to be reductions. And hopefully we'll get to a place where you all can share equally, as opposed to having to share heavily on one side until somebody else comes and lives there. And that's something you don't get in the title report, right? They don't tell you in the title report you're going to be assessed.
Very challenging to dig up all the information, for sure.
Yeah, we understand, and we as messengers get the brunt of it. But in reality, there's very little we can do other than try to assess as little as possible and measure that every year to make sure that you don't get over-assessed, and give you credit for whatever's left so that next year it will lower. And it's getting lower. Not noticeable because there's not that many people in there, but it will become more noticeable as more people go to live in that area.
Thank you. Look forward to meeting with you folks in the future. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I just want to thank you for reminding the public that, yes, these are the district's funds. It's not the counties, not everybody else. Whatever's collected stayed in that fund and is to be used only for the purposes that the district was formed for.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I've had a lot of questions about that, so I appreciate Gil for pointing that out. Those funds reside there. They're not part of our budget. We can't do anything with them.
In essence, Mr. Chairman, Supervisor Lyons, what we're doing, we're just administrating the district. Whatever expenditures happen in that district, my office, in conjunction with the Improvement District's office, we pay the bills for them, we do the administration, we do the levying, everything for them.
We're never gonna win that one.
I have a question for Gil, or is this area, they get water delivered?
The description that I have is just for the maintenance. It's irrigation water. It's for the maintenance, mostly for the common areas. And there's 2 districts for them. Street lighting is the other one.
But do they get a irrigation district assessment?
Yes, it does. One of the districts is set up as that irrigation water.
But it's not water delivered to the homes.
Supervisor Porches, let me get a little more information. I don't know the specifics about that improvement district. The description that I had is that it's just irrigation water district. And the reason for the expenditures that I got from the improvement district coordinator was for the maintenance of the public access areas.
Landscaping.
Landscaping.
You know, I just wanted to bring that up because I know, you know, like you said, we don't make that, we don't put that, set that charge. But there's a lot of improvement districts or from the water districts that they charge and they don't deliver water. There's no way to deliver water to homes. And this, I'm talking because in my district, there's plenty of areas, homes that get charged for that. And so I believe those should not be going up because if they're not maintaining anything that they can't, how are they gonna, you know, they don't deliver water. But I know it's, you know, I just want to bring that up because I think the irrigation district should be aware of that. And folks that are paying, one way or another, we should let them know because I pay it at my home and I don't get a single drop of water from the canal. In fact, they don't have a ditch that can deliver water to my house, but I still pay it. And there's a conversion in cities that you can give it to the, you know, the city will pay it, but the city still charge you a tax to pay that. So we're still getting charged. So it's but if we don't let the water districts know, nothing's gonna, I call it, it's like the banks with the interest rates and the home, how many years they take for you to pay a home back, a mortgage. Water districts and banks are the biggest thieves that they can actually steal from you, you know, with your eyes open, you know. But if we don't do anything, this is going to continue. There's many districts in Somerton that owe thousands of dollars because
many homes
on water, irrigation district water, and they had never received it. But they still owe that money. So if they ever sell that home, the water district will get their money because there's a lien.
It's a federal. It's a federal
It's a lien, but but I just don't get it. Why should they be charging? Especially going up if they're not maintaining anything.
Supervisor Porches, I just want to make sure that we understand that we're talking about the irrigation district, which is a completely different entity with their own statutory powers.
We charge for that. You know, we have the assessor or the county or the treasurer do the work for them, and that money is going to them. So we do something for them. So
we collect the money.
Yeah. So actually, they're getting, you know, something from us. We're doing that work for them. So.
Okay. And I understand that because I used to, again, live, you know, if you live in San Luis, in the bottom, in the valley, you the same thing. And what, you know, the answer that they give you, and this could be a long and lengthy discussion about whether it's irrigation water or whether it's water delivery, because there are 2 different things. There's irrigation water and there's water delivery. That's why we changed the rules here so that people who subdivided here needs to have a water delivery system. Otherwise, we won't approve the
That's right.
rezoning, because we kept getting all those complaints about people moving into the county and paying for water they couldn't get.
They couldn't get.
And the answer to that from the irrigation district is very similar to the answer that you get when somebody's telling you we were here first. Because that's what they'll tell you. They will tell you we were here first. People who subdivide should know that the minimum water charge is an acre foot per year. So if you subdivide something that used to be an acre into 5 parcels, every parcel is going to pay for an acre. And you're going to we need to make sure that the delivery is there. But this one here, I think that that is a normal process. People, the fact is improvement districts have become now the norm as opposed to the exception. It used to be the exception. We used to think of government being able to provide some services, street lighting being one of them, and probably landscaping being the other one. But now cities and towns and even counties are starting to get into this requirement for improvement districts that is getting, I think, to me, way out of hand. We have over 300 and something districts here that we have to sort of manage. Now, that is becoming an issue to me because I didn't particularly like what districts to begin with, much less the water irrigation district or the water districts. But cities are doing this all the time. They're now putting in districts for services, police department services. They're putting services for parks and recreation. They're not even calling it impact fees anymore. They're just creating districts. Again, it's a very, very complex system of taxing that we have in the state of Arizona. Probably one of the most complex in the whole country that we have a taxing system in the state. And we happen to be the county with the most districts in the state of Arizona.
Combined against the whole state.
Yeah, more than the whole state combined. So we get to deal with this quite a bit. And anyway, but without spending much more time, because we got to get this over with.
I have a comment, though. The city of Yuma has required every developer to take care of those that water district and transfer it over to the city of Yuma before that subdivision is approved, so that the newer subdivisions, those folks in the newer subdivisions don't have that irrigation fee. But places like Pecan Grove, Pecan Gardens, all of that area down there who are not receiving irrigation, some of the older districts in Yuma County are still having to pay for that irrigation. If they're paid up in full, they can go and transfer it to the city. Their water rights. But other than that, if they owe on it, they have to pay it off with interest before they can do that.
I've done that. I did that on all my homes down there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they charge you interest.
Guys, I tell you what, this is, again, a very complex system. The question that the lady had is why do we keep getting charged? Why is it front loader? The answer is because you're paying, to a district that's collecting all the money from very few people. And until that, there's more people living in that area, that's going to be sort of like more the rule than the exception. The only difference that I see is that it keeps going down, because I think we're starting to realize just what it costs, and there's the county making those calculations, reducing it. Because if it was up to the water districts, they'll keep charging whatever they're charging, because the more they get, the better off they feel. But anyway, Gil, anything else? Ma'am, gentlemen, did you want to say something? Did anybody else want to say something?
My concern
It's the same as everybody. Anybody else that has a different concern? If not, then we'll move on. Gil, any questions regarding any of the other districts or anything that we can actually do something about? If not, I'll entertain a motion to go ahead and approve.
Mr. Chairman, I would say that I still get a lot of calls regarding the districts. That's probably the #1 call from constituents, because they don't understand how it works.
Gil, we have become very good at explaining finances. I mean, we actually have some brochures that I think are they serve as a sample to every other county. I think we need to start explaining how a district works and how they can access people in the district. I mean, Jeffrey here is prime example of that. People are confused about how is the system supposed to work. And in this county, I think we need to put out more information and put out the names of the people they should be contacting before it gets to this point where we already have a budget. We set a budget based on this, and now we're only approving what we used to make that budget. So if we wanted to make change right now, that would change the revenues and it would change the way we budgeted them. So I think at this time, it's a little late, but I think that we do need to have some education go behind it so we don't get this far before somebody can come in and make.
And I have a question of when do they finally get paid off? I mean, I represent Meadowbrook, El Pueblocito, all of those.
Mr. Chairman,
just
Supervisor Percassi.
John's freaking out.
I mean, it's getting a little off. I know I'm trying to keep them in the lane, but they keep asking questions.
Sorry, I keep asking questions,
Mr.
yes.
Chairman.
I'll meet with you, Gil.
No, well,
and
I'm
talk
trying
you
to.
about it,
I am trying
okay?
to.
Because I have concerns about some of those older subdivisions that should have paid off all of this. by
This is
now.
a problem.
The board knows that we have been working with the assessors and the treasurer's office to look for those districts which purpose is no longer needed, so we can start phasing them out and everything. Districts, improvement districts, they say serve a good purpose, but constituents have to be well informed of the type of the districts that they're getting into, what type of finances are going to come out of that district as well. And just one last comment, Mr. Chairman, this is the reason why I present the spreadsheet the way it is. So I'm componentizing all the districts in with general authorities, special districts, improvement districts, municipalities, and I make that public for everybody to see. We're having a new reporting requirement. This form is going to be changing, but I think this form serves a greater purpose, so we're probably going to keep it. But I'm going to have the new form out there that needs to go to the state as well.
Yeah, go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, as far as the education is concerned, it would be nice if people understood that they need to go to their school board meetings and have those conversations with those elected
Officials
board
as
members,
well.
yeah.
And I want to make it public. The total general special improvement district levies, it's $180 million. So it's not a little thing. It's a lot of little things combined that make it a big deal.
That's a lot of money.
It's $180 million we collect and distribute to those districts. So if you have an interest on that, we'll educate you a little bit, and then you can go to the districts, just like you come to the board of supervisors and talk about general funds. You can go to your districts, and I'm sure that most districts will be happy to explain to you. Well, maybe not happy, but they will, be happy to explain to you how they work and how they spread those monies around. Because I personally don't think anyone is making money off those districts. I just think people just do not understand their use. Yeah. Well, except with the exception of the water district, which, I'm not going to get into right now. Anyway, look, I got to get back to this. We got to get, this has been an item of discussion for 6 months. Throughout the whole process, the whole budget process. We're getting to the end and we need to finish it up. So I'll entertain a motion to go ahead and
Make a motion that we
establish and
approve.
adopt.
Establish and adopt.
Establish and adopt property tax rates and assessment taxes for all applicable Yuma County direct and overlapping general authorities, special districts and improvement districts for the fiscal year 22-23. There's been a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
There's been a motion and second to approve them as presented. All those in favor of the motion signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries. It's a painful one, but it has to be done. Right. Take a breather and we move on, hopefully trying to get out of here by noon, to discussion regarding legislative issues. I'm sorry, it's getting like, and thanks for coming, everybody. I know it may not have been the exact answer you wanted, but.
Our waste tire and our other.
All right, so we got 2 items for county administration and for Alex, discussion and possible action regarding state and federal legislative updates, which may include international issues, status of bill affecting Yuma County, timelines and composition of the legislature, and legislative strategies and priorities. We're likely to have a PowerPoint presentation, and then we will discuss the discussion and we'll discuss possible action to adopt the 2023 legislative proposals by Yuma County for consideration at the annual County Supervisor Association Legislative Summit. All right, hashtag.
Death by PowerPoint.
Death by PowerPoint. No, it's not true. Go ahead.
Good afternoon, members of the board. I'll be brief on the state. The governor signed into law 5 bipartisan bills on August 9. The legislation, all of them, will help Arizonans in need of grief services, provide greater access to personalized medicine, increase cancer awareness, develop better housing, and cut rural electricity costs.
Oh my gosh, all those license plates. Poor DPS, they have the hardest time.
Yeah.
The governor also issued last week an executive order to fill gaps in the border wall, directing the Arizona Department of Emergency and Military Affairs to immediately fill a 1,000 gap in the border wall in Yuma County near Gadsden. A state contractor double stacked 60 shipping containers reinforced with wire at the top during the weekend. On the federal level, after making it to the Senate last week, the House of Representatives sent the $740 billion Inflation Reduction Act to President Biden's desk for his signature. The largest spending provision in the bill is nearly $370 billion to combat climate change, including tax credits and funding for renewable energy. The bill also extends Enhanced Affordable Care Act subsidies, allows Medicare to negotiate at prices for certain prescription drugs, imposes a 15% minimum tax on corporations making $1 billion or more in annual profits, invests $80 billion in the IRS to crack down on tax evasion, and $4 billion for Western drought relief, negotiated by Senator Sinema, as she announced last week as well. That will be my regular update, Mr. Chairman, on legislative issues.
Right.
That wasn't too bad, Mr.
No,
Chairman.
wasn't too bad. No, you can continue, move on to the possible action to adopt our two summit proposals.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So we worked on the biosolid human waste proposal as directed by the board and simplified the ask quite a bit. So we are first of all requiring ADQ to coordinate a public comment period prior to the approval of new registration for land application of biosolids, so that local jurisdictions and residents may have the opportunity to comment on the registration of new facilities as well as the expansion of any existing facilities. We also are asking to prohibit application of out-of-state biosolids on the state land. And lastly, exclude biosolid operations from agriculture exemptions so that local jurisdictions may develop zoning regulations for biosolid operations without distressing existing ag exemptions. If I can clarify a little bit on the first point, that would be to prevent biosolids to come into private land, because we're on the second point, we're asking it to be prohibited on state land.
How do you see the first one prohibiting that?
No, the first one is just having a say. This was something that we worked out with CSA and Department of Development Services. But we're just trying to prevent biosolid operations on private land.
Okay, I get that.
Say at least.
Yeah, I get that. But the first one is just sort of like, okay, we'll let the public comment, right? Prior to the approval of the new registration for land application.
Right.
It's sort of asking, please let us know before you do this. And the second one is got teeth on it, and it says prohibit application of out-of-state biosolid on state land. Now that one's got teeth, because a lot of that happens in state land that has been leased out for agricultural purposes. And the third one is sort of good because it allows whatever, you know, it's sort of good, but it's tough because the agricultural exemption is like a holy grail of agriculture here. I mean, you try to get some housing controls in there and it won't work. You try to get anything that happens in agriculture and it won't work.
No,
and it
they
won't
won't
work
let
because the agricultural sector here is like, you know, the biggest leg of the economy. So when you're asking about taking away any kind of rights that are basically given to agriculture, oh man, I tell you, that's like, it's like gun legislation.
Don't talk to me about that.
Okay, if you begin, I turn around and say that. It's like it starts, you know, or abortion, or abortion.
Oh, don't even
You know,
start there either.
I tell you, you know, it's like talking about a God-given right that agriculture has in this area to do, you know, like the Second Amendment or the whatever.
Mr. Chairman,
But,
if I may, the marijuana law that passed in the state of Arizona was not included as part of the ag exemption according to Development Services. So this has happened in the past where you have one of the crops or one of the operations or industries not be considered exempt on because of agriculture. So that's happened before. It's just
I see your argument. I see where that argument may fly. What we're trying to do, I don't know if you're trying to gradually get to a point where we have ADQ, just pay more attention to the local jurisdictions, or if we're actually just going to go for the whole enchilada and say, look, we don't want it in state land, and we want to be able to zone it. You know, in other words, zone it out of agriculture if we can, because those two, the last two, have a lot more to do with the ability that the ADQ has to actually do that, regardless of what our opinion is.
Mr. Chairman, I think we should go for the whole enchilada.
I do too.
Yeah. Okay.
We had an experience.
I know, we had an
So
experience
it's
on
just-
economic
The
development.
more you ask, and right away,
The
it's
worse,
just
that- yeah,
rejected.
the less you're gonna get.
Yeah, so I just say the ADQ and the state gives us more control of saying how much do we want here.
We're giving us the ability to create the zoning.
Yeah. Or because.
I think that's the strongest argument.
I think, yeah, because
Yeah.
that way every county will say, yeah, because we want that.
The counties
because-
want the ability to control the zoning.
Because if
Yeah, but
we
we-
ask for,
okay.
that's especially like someone that leases from the state.
Say that we
from
get that
agriculture.
last one, exclude biosolid operation for agriculture. Say that we get that. A lot of the stuff is happening on state land, which we don't have any control over. We have 18%, maybe less than that. Maybe it was 9 or 11%
No,
of
it's
public
18,
property here in
yeah.
Yuma County.
Mhm.
The rest of it's either state or federal. So having control over 2% of the land mass, it's really not having much control. So we need to look, putting it out there and tailoring it, and see what we can get. Like go for the whole enchilada and try to get a couple of plates of, like tortillas or something. At the end of the day, it's better than not trying it at all. So I think you have a good chance of getting the first one in, because that one just requires for them to check with us or kind of thing. Getting the second one, it's going to be a lot difficult because state land, they have regulations to get the most out of those lands. And sometimes that's what, they have a different process to go through this. Lease lands, they might be leasing that land for 50 years and we can't change anything for 50 years. The third one, I think is the best one for us, where we are allowed to do that, but it won't impact much. Because most of the land where this is happening is the state land.
Mr. Chairman, I know I'll have the opportunity to debate this, but have you had the opportunity to review this with Craig?
yes, we have.
From the other
I've been
counties.
working closely with them and CSA on this specific.
And what are his thoughts?
This is pretty much coming from him.
Okay.
Okay, well, if he thinks we can push it through, we'll work on it. But it's nothing worse than not taking anything up there.
And, Mr. Chairman, we do, well, no.
Well,
It would be a good debate.
We might find support in some other counties too,
Yeah.
that we
I
don't
think we can.
expect.
I think we can find support for the number 3 and probably the number 1. I don't know about getting the
I
support for
think number
state.
2, Mr. Chairman, I think we would get some good support on that because
Mm-hmm.
But I think that'll take legislative power, because I don't think the state land department, I don't think we, the counties, can ask, to
The legislature doesn't have
prohibit
any
any type of
control over
application.
state land.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, the idea is to get to the CSA and discuss it with the CSA. The County Manager Association will meet next week.
All right.
And they will also be talking about it. But when we get to the summit, the idea is to negotiate what's the best approach. And then we have to work with the CSA to get it to specific sponsors that would help us,
Let's roll with it. Get the other one. Leave it like it is.
You need to put California in there somewhere.
do that.
Especially from California.
that is a great suggestion, Supervisor Panker.
We'll mention California a few times.
The thing is, somebody mentioned, if we get it from Mexico or Utah or, Texas, we have to make sure it's
Say
out of
cur-
state.
Say currently, California is
The main culprit.
Californicating Arizona through their disposal of human debris, human waste,
Yeah.
biosolids.
Mr. Chairman, Supervisor
In other words,
Lyons,
we're getting shit from California.
it is explained
That's exactly what's
on
happening.
the full
Sorry.
format of the proposal. It is there on the background information.
But put it in there, in the bullet point.
That's what we're going to have to
Arizona
say.
is a
it.
current dumping ground for California human waste.
Yep, because they're only allowed
Just
to
because
take
we
so
call it
much.
biosolid doesn't mean it's anything. You can call it anything you want to. Move it to the next one.
Okay.
We'll take that one and move it to the next one.
I think we were.
That was
I think-
easy.
I think Mr. Chairman was looking to provoke you, Alejandro.
I'm not, Alejandro, I just need to move you off that biosolid stuff. It's okay.
So on the second one,
Oh, crap.
we still couldn't get any information from ADOR or ADOT on the formula and distribution. We don't know how many vehicles are registered with every county, so it's hard to figure out if changing the formula right now would impact the smaller counties or not. So we're just asking legislature to help us evaluate the current disbursement and method and determine if there is a more equitable distribution method and define if the current maximum amount of $2 per tire, regardless of size, is sufficient to properly dispose of the tires.
Alejandro?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, if I could ask a question. Originally, all cars were registered and it was actually on their plate, which county they were registered to.
It's not anymore?
No.
No,
Well,
no,
I'm
it's
sorry.
state now.
It's not registered on their plate, but they used to have a plate designation. You could see which county they were from historically. I think they did away with that in the 50s or 60s.
I wasn't born then, so.
But, well, only because I collect those plates
Oh, you
from
have
Yuma,
them.
from Yuma County.
You do that.
But they actually put on there. So you ought to be able to go back there and see how they were able to determine historically where they were registered and with that designation.
Yeah, but let's say I bought a car in Phoenix, right? Would that be registered in Maricopa or Yuma?
Registered to your home address.
That's Yuma.
Wherever the entity is that owns that vehicle, it's going to come back to, that is not difficult.
Mr. Chairman, we're trying to be as comprehensive as possible and include winter visitors, Mexicans, state and federal vehicles. Now, state vehicles are, for the most part, all registered in the county of Maricopa. And, well, the other ones, they're coming from all over the place. So the idea was to look into sales of new tires within every county. The downside to that is that the smaller counties might not be selling a lot of tires. We may be impacting their revenue by doing that.
Some of the smaller counties don't have the larger wholesale areas where they can go in and purchase those. After having driven through many of the smaller counties, you actually have to drive
That's right.
into different counties, for example, to go to a Sam's Club or a Costco, where you have a significant amount of those tires being sold. I can attest to that because not all counties have those major wholesale or larger sale operations. So I would agree.
So, Mr. Chairman, in order to garner the support of the CSA, we need to be careful with that and just make sure that we are, as a majority of the counties, get benefited by our ask.
Is there any, oh, okay, I get that. So if we ask for more than $2 a tire, you think it'll have a negative impact on some of the smaller counties?
No. The only issue with that is that we don't know if that will get approved or
The
supported.
tire sales, Mr. Chairman, would be impacted on the smaller counties.
And on the second point, if I may, we're trying to modify ADQ's current reporting requirements to meet the statute that it's in place. Apparently, if I'm not mistaken, and I don't want to misquote Mr. Josh Scott, the idea is ADQ has simplified the reporting requirements. So instead of going by units for tires, they're counting tons, and they're giving, every ton is 100 tires or something like that. So there's no clarity when we go in and try to find, compare apples to apples, compare Yuma County to Mojave County or to Coconino. We don't know exactly how many tires they're processing or in their facility because they can either be measured by tons or units.
Okay.
And the third one is we recommend reviewing the current contract all counties have with the vendor who comes and picks up the tires from every county. We get charged a different rate than a lot of other counties do. So our recommendation is to have all counties agree to sit down with the vendor and negotiate a better deal or a flat rate for everybody.
For everybody.
Right, here, let me use the word that I think can change the perspective, and that's permissible, enabling legislation. Because what happens is when we try to get something done statewide, we don't know exactly what the impact's going to be. But when we allow counties to make that decision individually, in other words, this particular statute is permissible. In other words, counties can make that change on their own without having to, you've got to look at this thing as whether you want a state statute that controls and manages everybody, which is something that I really think is really difficult because you can't tell, if it's equitable. But if you make it permissible, if you make it enabling, enabling legislation that allows counties like ours to look at, instead of, yes, it would be enabling us to deal with our problem as opposed to making everybody deal with the problem because it doesn't work for us. It has a better chance of getting through. I do sound like a Republican, but don't take that to the bank or yet. So, but it's enabling legislation. And I think to get over this, we need to make sure that whomever is impacted negatively doesn't feel like now he has to live under this regimen. We've got a problem. And it's really, the tire waste problem is not really just our problem. It's some of the counties have it, but some may not. And they may be negatively impacted. So when we go out there, we got to make sure that we say, look, this is enabling legislation. This is just allowing us to make those changes as counties, not as a state. So that's why when you see something like no biosolids on state land, I cringe a little because that would make it a state regulation. And that, to me, that's not what I like to. I don't think you get through anything through the counties unless everybody has the same problem. And I don't think everybody has the same problem. They don't have the same problem with biosolids. They don't have the same problem with tires. So to get away from that, just talk about an enabling legislation that allows you to do it on a county basis. Yeah, gives you the flexibility to do it, to deal with your problem. All we want is enabling legislation to let us deal with the problem and allows us to have some sort of management of control over land that we should have management of control, even if it's state-owned. They should be getting a special permit, like you do for recycling or you do for marijuana. And that's what we want. Biosolids, we want the ability to regulate biosolids in Yuma County to the point we stop getting all this crap from California delivered without us having anything to say about it. That's it. We want enabling legislation. We don't want the whole state to go through it because it's going to be difficult. That's probably on those two issues, that's probably the most critical element. We want people to know we want to solve a problem we have that you could have by doing something now that you may be benefiting from in the future. That would apply to tires, and it would apply to waste tires, and it would apply to waste crap. Got it?
Yes, sir.
All right. Anything else?
We're dealing with puro waste.
I think
dealing with puro crap
to be the board needs to vote to adopt the proposals.
Right. Well, go ahead.
Just a comment in that, now that I see Josh here, maybe in the future, or that we talk about, I know he's mentioned something about if it's expensive for us to do it or to cut up the tires ourselves and we need the equipment, but maybe this problem is going to continue to get, larger. And I mean, we're growing, so it's going to continue. So maybe it's a time that we need to start looking and see maybe in 5 years or so if it'd be feasible for us to do it ourselves and sell that product, something like that.
Mr. Chairman?
Yeah.
So what would, maybe this question is specifically for Josh based upon what Martine said, but what would it look like if we did more recycling on our own to be able to utilize that waste material, not the biosolids?
So when it comes to tires, you're talking about a real specialized machine to grind those up, separate the steel out. Then that becomes another issue. And then we got to find a buyer for the crumb rubber at the end. We talked with CRM about the possibility of them either picking up or us delivering crumb rubber. They're not interested because they're afraid it could be contaminated. There could be something in the bin that is not from rubber that will get into their equipment, things like that. So they're only interested in hauling whole tires. So we would have to source another vendor for that crumb rubber as it stands now. But to Alejandro's last bullet up there, I think if the 14 counties that do use CRM can get together and sit down with CRM and negotiate a better deal, a better way to do this, and maybe partner with them as opposed to us each individually, trying to tackle this problem, we may be able to accomplish something there.
But I think the question was, is there a possibility that within the future, 4 or 5 years, we could be in a position where we could recycle ourselves? That's your question, right?
He's saying, yeah.
And the answer to that is probably cost. The machines to do this will be very costly. And the question that Supervisor Lyons sort of made here is it time to think about spending some of that CARES money into getting ready to do that, as opposed to, I suppose that we have it allocated to different uses, one of them being the Orange Group. But at the same time, I never thought about putting this particular project, the tire recycling project, as one of the, concrete crusher as a possibility, because we don't have enough materials now. We don't have enough to recycle. But tires become an issue when they become very expensive to get rid of, and they become a desert issue. We start picking up tires everywhere, which is,
Mr. Chair, do we take care of all the tires, just like cities take it to the county, or the cities do their own?
Do they take care of their own?
No, so we're responsible for all waste tires within Yuma County, regardless of whether it's within an incorporated city or not. So
the answer is no. They don't.
There's program tires that are part of the waste tire program. Those are your passenger tires, your semi tires. We also deal with a lot of off-road tires. That's a service the county does not have to provide by statute, but we traditionally have. So we have a lot of ag tires that come to our facility. We've got a lot of ATV, UTV tires that show up at our facility. We charge a fee for that at the gate. We charge a tipping fee for that. We can look at adjusting that fee, but I don't want to use the fees for those to offset those program tires. Those tires where the tire dealers are already collecting a fee that gets passed on to the state and ultimately to the county. That needs to be a separate discussion, because we don't need that supplementing or trying to offset the fees we're not getting from the state through those other mechanisms.
Mr. Chairman?
Yeah?
Question for Josh, sorry. Real quick, could we, if we were able to put into our budget the ability, through CARES or whatever else, the ability to recycle those on our own, and then work with local providers for their road pavement type materials? Because from what I understand, they've integrated the recycled rubber into lots of paving operations.
Yeah, so that's one option. Another is South County landfill. They use the crumb rubber as a liner for new cells out at the landfill. That's another option. They typically buy or charge people to dispose of tires there. Then they have a small grinder to grind them up. But volume wise, we could work with them on that. I think there's options there. The initial cost is in the equipment.
Yeah.
So we've done some math to Supervisor Porch's point, and we're close to that point of our volume of tires about there to where we would break even on a machine to grind those up.
But could we sell that then?
At this point, we don't have enough volume out there that I'm confident we can to get rid of those. So it may look like a combination for a few years of grinding ourselves and selling what we can, and then having CRM haul the rest until we get to a point where we can.
Or could the county start processing for other counties and selling it?
So that is an option. The statute does allow counties with a population of, I think it's less than 500,000 to team up.
Right. The only ones excluded are Maricopa and Pima.
Pima. Mhm.
Yeah, but we could.
Right.
Last
Well,
question.
let's,
Last
well,
question.
no, go ahead.
Is there an opportunity for export? Because I know that there's quite a few companies from Mexico that come here and buy used wood products, motor parts, etc.
Mhm.
Could somebody export that, or could we make it available to export and look at those opportunities for a recycler in Mexico?
I think we could. One of the challenges there is going to be able to provide manifests that are that meet ADEQ's requirements. So we have to tell them that we had control of these tires. They went to CRM, who is a licensed and permitted disposal company with ADEQ. So there's that handoff, and it becomes CRM's problem. If we start talking about south of the border, I think that might get to be an issue as far as the manifests and maybe chain of custody of those tires.
The other thing is that you worry, it's about the legal side of selling anything as a county and making profit as a county. You know, we're precluded from law, by law
By
to
making money.
keep everything within a certain
But if
scope.
you could offset your costs.
Yeah.
Correct.
In
Yes.
return for.
I guess what I mean is that
Yeah.
you look at a scale size, you know, that it's worth doing it, but not because you think you're going to overtake somebody doing it in the private sector, but because you will self-service. First and foremost, self-service has got to be the foremost, because if we start selling outside, then it becomes an issue, selling outside, competing with the private sector, then getting into an area that you may start to actually pull a profit, and then you have to reinvest. It's just a business proposition. It doesn't
But-
run like a business.
It is, and
That's a really good idea, though, to sell Mexico.
You see, you're getting into sell again. Yeah.
I think one thing we haven't touched on is the liability.
Export.
The liability with these tires. Several of you have seen our waste tire facility. I mean, if there were ever a fire out, that's one of the things that keeps me up at night is.
I've looked, it's,
Right, I think we're spending the reach of this item too far. I mean, we're
Been
talking
out
about
there.
waste tires, and I know that, you know, this is a long discussion, but this discussion is about what we're gonna put in front of the CSA. If we wanna talk about tire disposal, whether it's large enough, whether the equipment is worth it, I'll put it in the agenda for you to come over and discuss it.
We're planning
Because-
on coming back the first board meeting in December, much like we did with the solid waste operation, providing overview of the program, some of our challenges, and
All right.
taking a look at those.
Mr. Chairman, could you at that time, when you come back in December, Josh, come back with costs
For
for
equipment.
those types of machines as well as crusher?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Gotcha. We got to keep moving. Thank you very much, Alex. Is there anything else you want other than those two items for us to approve and fine tune? And again, don't forget those two words you need to be in there, permissible. What is it? What's the other word I used? I already forgot.
Permissible.
Permissible is one, but the other one's enabling. It's enabling legislation and it's permissive. Means you don't have to do it. You can do it if you have the
may
need.
instead of shall.
All right? Got it. Do I hear a motion to go ahead and approve those two items
I'll
to be
make a motion
presented?
to approve.
Is there a
I'll
second? Yeah, there's motion and second to go ahead and approve the items as presented to be submitted to CSA during the legislative meeting in October the 5th. Anybody have any questions? If not, all those in favor of the motion signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries. And then we go to events calendar and current events. Board members and county administrator will report on events attended or to be attended on behalf of the county and may present a brief summary of current events and may update the schedule for future board of supervisors meetings as appropriate. No legal action will be taken.
Okay, I'm
Okay.
looking for I have notes somewhere. Hold on.
Okay.
Mhm.
We'll have Supervisor Simmons begin.
Sure, have Simmons. begin
Simmons, you
now.
got to start.
What did I do with my board minutes?
Call him on the phone. Tell him we need him right now.
Board packet. Oh. Is this my scripted or yours?
Oh, it's probably yours.
Thank you. It's on the back side of my
Oh,
notes.
can I have the other one then? Are we done?
Yes.
Have we
There you
done?
go. No, I got
Oh.
mine on, yeah, there you go. Jonathan accidentally picked mine up. Okay, here we go. You ready for me?
Yes,
I
we're ready.
attended my BNC Colonia meeting. I attended the hearing on the band trailer park and testified. I attended the Yuma 50 annual meeting, and they're having a fundraiser in October, and I'll have to get more information on that. I met with a constituent, and then I went to the LEPC meeting, which is the emergency management meeting. I went to the YMPO rail heavy freight alignment for agricultural industry. I met with another constituent, and I met with Nydia and Mr. McGahee at Quest regarding the Quest grant that they've applied for, along with AWC. So.
Good.
Anyway, in conjunction with AWC. There we go.
All right.
That's it.
Supervisor, oh, shoot. Supervisor Lyons.
GYDC was the meeting that I attended last week. Had the opportunity to sit down with Craig Sullivan regarding the legislative priorities and coordinating the work of CSA in the legislature. And participated in a partisan retreat with many members of the legislature, working to establish good working relationships going into the next session. Many of them recently elected in the primary, however, not final, pending the outcome of the general election, right? But nonetheless, establishing good relationships there. Good, and had several conversations with constituents regarding the border, good conversations with the governor's office, post construction of new Conex containers being set along the border. Participated in several phone calls with federally elected representative, Senator Kelly, as well as his staff from Senator Sinema's office, as well as staff and congressmen from 4 other districts here in Arizona and from out of the state regarding the state of the border. Most of them around the concern of the illicit drugs coming across and what could be done to stem the tide of fentanyl, methamphetamines, and other drugs specifically. And a couple of discussions, several discussions around water with Yuma Area Ag, what that looks like going forward, expressing concerns with shortages and how they would adapt and how that might affect local growers and our economy.
All right, Supervisor Porches.
I attended the GYDC meeting last week and talked with Deanne over the phone last Wednesday, so pretty much.
Thank you very much. I have very little to report. Just want to ask a question. We are moving the meeting of September the 5th to the 7th, right?
Yes, sir.
Do we have a special meeting at all regarding the
Orange Grove?
or
Tacna?
The Tacna one?
No.
No? It didn't come together?
We're
There's a
waiting on
meeting
the
of
USDA engineer to review the plan, so we're looking at September.
right? How about the Orange Grove? Are you guys scheduling a meeting?
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow?
Tomorrow night, there is an Orange Grove community meeting at 6 p.m.
Right. Make sure you.
They said they didn't want to see Tony there.
Well, don't worry about it. I'll be in Kansas. I forgot to tell. I'm leaving tomorrow at noon in Kansas. I'll be remotely thinking of you guys when I'm over there.
I bet you won't.
No.
Maybe. If I'm stuck in an airport somewhere,
Madison.
Anyway, so go ahead. Yeah.
Chairman met with School
Lot of
Superintendent
connection
Tom
stuff.
Hurt to discuss the broadband middle mile project and how it'll have a positive impact on our Yuma County schools, Also met with representatives from ALLO to discuss that project. Toured a neighborhood with Supervisor Simmons to check out a house that's been turned into pretty much a junkyard, so looking at ways to address that. Met with my fellow town and city managers in Yuma County for the quarterly Yuma County Managers Meeting. Participated in a Southwest Arizona Town Hall Planning Meeting for an all-day forum happening at YRMC on Friday, September 30th. Participated in a meeting of the Yuma County Building Project Steering Committee with Supervisors Porches and Simmons. Attended a neighborhood meeting to discuss the status of Del Sur and Del Sur number 2 subdivision streets. Had a monthly meeting with Supervisor Porches, as he mentioned. Also attended the GYEDC meeting, held a quarterly administration staff meeting. Joined Supervisor Pancrazzi with that Arizona at Work meeting that she mentioned.
Yes.
And Thursday afternoon, I'll be heading to Santa Cruz County to attend meetings of the Arizona County Managers Association.
All right.
And that's it.
One question, is the election board an appointed position or is it just simply assigned?
For the 2 supervisors that sit on that committee, you appoint those supervisors.
So who are they?
They are Supervisor Simmons and Porches.
Okay, better talk to you. Right, fine.
Are you okay?
Is there anything else?
I need some water.
Anything else? If there's nothing else, thank you very much. We'll consider